So let the record reflect that the special meeting of the Stonington Planning and Zoning Commission of September 16, 2025 was called to order at 7:01 p.m. All regular members are here this evening, and there'll be no alternates appointed. What's the Commission's pleasure on minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for meeting number 1808 from November 18th, 2025 as submitted.
Motion by Ryan to approve number 1808 minutes of November 18th. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you both. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains, motion
I
passes.
abstain just to note that I was not at that meeting, but I did complete watching the video of that meeting.
One additional abstention in addition to mine. The motion still passes. Minutes number 1810, December 2nd, 2025. What's the Commissioner's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for meeting number 1810 from December 2nd, 2025 as submitted.
Thank you, Ryan. Motion by Ryan. Any second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is number 4, opportunity for anyone in the audience that wants to address the Commission on any subject that is not on the agenda. Again, not on the agenda. Okay, we've got a heavy agenda here tonight, so I'm going to try to move along quickly through some of these routine items that we have here. Correspondence?
None on the, no, sir.
Okay. Did everyone get a copy of the legal memorandum?
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay, fine. Just draw your attention to that. If you haven't had an opportunity to read it, please scan it before we... Yes. Report, staff?
None, sir.
No staff report. Anything for the good of the order of the Commission? Hearing none. Zoning enforcement violations. You all have the information that you received on that. Unless there's questions, we'll go to administrative review. No items.
No items.
Old business. No old business. Brings us to item 8, deliberations. First item, item A, application PZ2522 SD F. Verzillo, represented by S. Sharenzia. So this is a 13-lot subdivision. Public hearing closed on November 18th. Any discussion on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question, and having watched that meeting, actually finished watching that today, so it's maybe a little more up front in my mind. I had a question because I recall, I think it might have been Carlene, talking about widening a road 9 feet or something like that as
Yes.
part of this. And my question was, and I'd actually asked Candace, I think that is a town road, correct? That would not be something that an applicant would be required or even could be compelled to make
They have
any
to
changes?
build it to town standards.
They would have to build it to town standards, but is there a requirement that they would have to do anything with the road?
Not unless it was a town standard.
Okay, that was unclear to me from the prior meeting, so I wasn't sure.
So there were 2 issues. One was that the owner or applicant was supposed to convey some land to the town so they could widen Moss Street. We had a couple of open issues, whether or not there was a bond for the sidewalk, whether or not this was complete, the conveyance of the land, or we had some documents for that, and an easement for the sidewalk use and also maintenance of the sidewalk because it's going to be on the Verzillo property. And I don't think we've got anything in the file, anything new that shows that those things have happened. So I don't know if we could put those as conditions.
Stipulations,
Yeah.
perhaps, yeah. And just to confirm, Candace, we have not received anything new?
No, they had nothing new, and they did say that they will stipulate.
Okay, so they would be agreeable to the stipulations on those 3 other items, along with what we already had. I
Yes,
think.
if you look at the staff report from
Correct.
November 18th, they did agree to stipulate.
Okay, so I do see the easements for sidewalks, perpetual drainage easements executed, okay. Conveyed to the town, corner of the land, so that would address that concern as well, I think.
Yeah.
And then final plans, that's a standard one. So with the current stipulations that we had listed out by the staff, do you think that would
Yeah,
cover their concerns?
I'd be okay with that, if we get those covered.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other?
Any other questions on this? What's the commission's pleasure on the proposed subdivision by Mr. Brazil?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the subdivision application of CF Brazillo, PZ 2522SD, with the following 4 stipulations. Number 1, the applicant shall address outstanding comments to the satisfaction of the town engineer and town planner as necessary. Number 2, deeded easements for sidewalks and perpetual drainage easements shall be executed across private properties to allow for the proper conveyance of water. This includes an access and maintenance easement to the town of Stonington for the infiltration basin. Number 3, the applicant shall convey to the town the corner of land that extends along Moss Street to the edge of the right-of-way along Lot 1 to facilitate road widening and public maintenance. Number 4, prior to the issuance of a zoning permit, the final plan shall be signed by the commission and recorded in the town's land evidence records.
Motion by Ryan to approve with 4 stipulations. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve with 4 stipulations?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I'm opposed.
One opposed. The chair, we have 3 votes in favor. The chair abstains. Motion passes. Item B, application PZ 2534 SPA, Fair Housing of Connecticut.
Mr. Chairman, I think I want to make a couple of statements at the beginning of this before I make a motion. If I may, I have to say I know there is a lot of concern about this application in general from the public, and we have heard those concerns. On the watershed and the aquifer concerns and also the treatment of runoff and all, I have to say I know there's different opinions with the proposed solution, and I know we do have a very respected person from the town who has some concerns there. I have to say I do believe that they are offering a much improved solution from the original application. I think they have done a lot of due diligence in that area. I know people still will have concerns on there, and I understand them. I also have to say I have a concern in my own mind about the current state of the property without any kind of improvements to any kind of treatment or for the aquifer. That said, I have a major concern, and I think it is something that we can, even under the 830G restrictions that we are forced to respond to as a result of this application. And my major concerns really are on the safety and health and safety concerns with regards to traffic and school bus pickup. That would be an issue, I believe, that would be very, very critical if this application goes forward as it is currently proposed. So with that in mind, I would make a motion myself, a draft. I would actually make a motion to deny this application without prejudice. And I would state that it's after due consideration of the application, testimony, evidence in the record, and the standards set forth in the Connecticut General Statutes of 830G, the Planning and Zoning Commission hereby denies this application without prejudice based on the substantial public interests in health and safety specifically related to traffic impacts affecting school children. And the findings that I would use to back up that denial are school bus drop-off and pickup safety. The proposed development will significantly increase vehicular traffic along Liberty Street, which is currently used as a designated school bus drop-off and pickup location for children residing in the surrounding neighborhood. Evidence in the record demonstrates that increased traffic volumes and turning movements associated with the proposed development would create an unsafe conditions during school bus operations, particularly during peak morning and afternoon hours. Number 2, children crossing the street. The record establishes that children utilizing the school bus stop must cross Liberty Street to access the bus. This street lacks sufficient traffic calming features, controlled crossings, or pedestrian refuge areas. The anticipated increase in traffic resulting from the proposed development would materially increase the risk of vehicle-pedestrian conflicts involving school-aged children. Number 3, lack of adequate signage and traffic controls. The application fails to provide adequate measures to ensure that vehicles will stop or slow appropriately when a school bus is loading or unloading children or when children are crossing the street. Specifically, there is an absence of permanent signage warning motorists of school bus activity or child pedestrian crossings. Number 2, no evidence was provided demonstrating the feasibility or enforceability of restricting vehicle movements during school bus pickup or drop-off times. The existing roadway configuration does not include flashing warning devices, marked crosswalks, or any other safety features necessary to mitigate these risks. Number 4, the applicant did not propose a credible or enforceable traffic safety improvement sufficient to address the concerns that have been listed, such as relocation of the bus stop to a safer location, installation of pedestrian control crossings, traffic calming infrastructure, or legally enforceable signage and enforcement mechanisms. Due to this, the Commission finds that the traffic-related safety risks to school children posed by the proposed development constitute a substantial public interest in health and safety. These risks are specific, documented, and supported by the evidence in the record, and are not speculative or generalized. Further, the Commission finds that the identified health and safety concerns clearly outweigh the need for affordable housing at the proposed location, and these concerns cannot be adequately mitigated through reasonable conditions or modifications to the application. For that reason, for the reasons stated, and pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 830G, the application is hereby denied without prejudice.
Motion to deny by Ryan. Thank you, Ryan, with extensive narrative. If you have that in writing, and you could supply that to Candy for the minutes, it'd be most appreciated. Is there a second on the motion?
I second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Any discussion on the motion?
I disagree with almost everything he said. I think a lot of that stuff can be, I don't consider that health and safety issues. I think that there was evidence in the record that the bus stop does not stop on the other side of the street, that it does turn around and stop in front of the property.
Only coming back one way, though. Only in one direction.
Sorry,
Only in one direction during
but I don't think they,
the evening hours, as I recall, not during the morning.
that's not what I heard. I also think that that can be mitigated by putting in sidewalks and installing proper signage. That could be, as we so often stipulate, in to add certain.
I don't think it's our job to try to
No, just-
redesign it. I realize you're just making comments.
I'm discussing. I disagree with what Brian said. I think, and if you would, like the aquifer, I think is kind of a moot issue. I am a water expert. I have designed stormwater systems. I have drinking water. I run a drinking water company. I think everything they said about the aquifer is not, it's going to be protected, fine. But I disagree with the traffic.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I guess just to follow up, are you in support of the project?
Yes.
And I guess, I mean, I've been sitting here for these past 3 or 4 meetings as we talk about this project. And I've been on zoning boards for 13 years. This is, I feel, the worst design project I've ever seen. It's just absurd in its scope. And I know it came beforehand with more. I think it was impossible to build the first time. And so now they're coming back and said, hey, we did all of this work to just make it absurd. And it's, I mean, if we were to follow zoning, we could do maybe 17 houses there. And so I don't know what 830G was supposed to do. Should they be allowed double the zoning, triple the zoning? This is more than 4 times the zoning. And to fit 84 houses on this lot, you have to pretty much cover the entire lot with either housing or pavement. Same with children is I made a comment to the applicant. I mean, these kids are going to have no place to play. There's no yard space So we're gonna have, I don't know, 80 kids there. Their only place to play is right along the street where we know traffic is moving at 54 miles an hour average. This is nuts. This is like high-density storage for humans. This is not, these are not homes. I'm not sure this would be allowed in any municipality that has zoning, but I'm not sure
I think we have to
what
be
we can do
careful
about
that
it. Yeah.
830G takes all of that criteria and sets it aside. And I think the more we talk about it and bring it into play, the more we could jeopardize ourselves, because you can't take those items into consideration and make a decision as much as we would all like it, and as much as we regret the fact that they're waived. So, point certainly well taken, but can't be part of the decision.
I mean, like, it's very dense, and yes, the kids won't have a place to play, but that's not our decision to make, and that's not our place to say, that you need to tell us, according to 830G, I'm saying, we can't say, oh, you need more green space because the kids have nowhere to play. They're proposing this that does conform to 830G, with the exception of what Ryan thinks is an issue with the health and safety of the traffic, which I don't really see. So if you're looking at, am I in support of the project? Do I love the project? No. But do I think it should be approved based on the law? Yes. And based on, I don't see a health and safety issue being presented by what they're proposing. It is very dense, and would I like to see something smaller? Sure. Would I like to see lots of trees and green and parks for the kids to play? Sure. But according to 830G, and in my opinion, the state, they're allowed to do this.
I can't get past the school bus crossing in the morning. The density, whatever. Honestly, when I was a kid, I played on the street. I have no problem with that. I think it's probably a good thing for kids. It doesn't bother me. But I've sat at that building quite a few times recently and seen that traffic, and I can't envision people crossing that street to go to a school bus. It's just, no, it's not safe.
We have a motion on the table, second, with an extensive narrative on the reason for denial. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, and we should probably go roll call on this. So we'll start with Dave.
I'll vote in favor of the motion to deny.
Okay. So it's a yes. Ryan?
I vote yes to deny.
Okay. Gary?
Yes to deny.
Commissioner Morrison?
I'm opposed.
Okay, no. The chair abstains, so it's 3 votes in favor. The motion to deny passes. It's without prejudice.
Correct, without prejudice.
Okay, the motion passes. The application is denied without prejudice. All right, moving on to public hearings. Ryan, would you mind just reading the first item for public hearing, and then we'll move to open.
This application opened in November.
It did, correct.
Okay. So just be reopening the public hearing now?
Correct.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to reopen the public hearing for PC 2546 SUPT Chimento special use permit application for the construction of a retaining wall pursuant to ZR 12.4.9. Property is located at 2 Pine Street, Pawcatuck, M/B/L 16-7-15. Property is located in the RH10 zone.
Application by Ryan to reopen the application of T. Chimento in Pawcatuck at 2 Pine Street. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Second by Gary. Thank you both. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is reopened.
Good evening, folks.
Evening.
Attorney Robert Avina from Sussman Shapiro, office at South Englewood Road in Stonington. I'm here tonight representing Tony Cimento on his continuing application. I know you opened the hearing last week for a retaining wall. Just give us a moment if we can go ahead and get set up. We have a presentation for you. With me tonight is Jason Reynolds, he's a surveyor, and he's going to be walking us through the presentation of what we're presenting to you tonight. With us also is Charlie Elias, he's an engineer. To my left, he's worked with Tony Cimento to my right, who's the builder, to engineer the structure itself and the way that we're presenting it tonight. Are we okay with your screens?
I can do it without screen, it's fine.
Need a mic at all?
At some point, yeah. Can I use this one too?
Yeah.
All right, I'll go over it. Thank you. Test. Good evening. My name is Jason Reynolds with Reynolds Engineering Services. Our firm was retained to prepare the survey and site development plan for Lot 2 Pine Street. So the site plan has been submitted previously and was reviewed by town staff and Steve Trinkus, the town engineer. He supplied a comment letter to which we have revised our plans and addressed all of his comments to his satisfaction. There was one outstanding thing that he recommended could be a condition of approval, which was an additional test pit to our dry well at the rear of the structure. So I can just talk about the project very briefly. We'll focus our attention to the west side of the site. It's a small lot here on the corner of Pine Street, and on the west side of the proposed structure, we have a retaining wall shown on the plan. And based on the grading from the road and our top of foundation wall elevation, the applicant is seeking to construct some sections of the wall in excess of the 59 inches. The reason for this being to properly convey surface runoff to the rear of the property. Everything is designed such that all roof runoff from roof leaders and the footing drain outlet and surface runoff is all directed towards the rear of the property to the dry well. In order to accommodate that and put a little local low point between the west side of the structure and the top back of the wall, we needed to add a couple more courses to the height of that wall in order to do that. If we were to leave it such that the exposed face of the wall was 59 inches or less, then there wouldn't be any way to grade out the site without conveying runoff towards the top of the wall, which doesn't go along with the zoning regs and isn't really favorable to anyone's situation. So there's a small section of the wall, it's about 84 linear feet, and I'll point it out in just a second on the board. This section is going to be in excess of 59 inches, everything else is less. So I'll show you that right now. The blue here. This is the only section that's proposed to be in excess of 59 inches. Everything else is less. We added a lot of detail to the proposed contours and spot grades on here to just demonstrate the micro grading required to, again, convey all runoff to the rear of the property. The key thing here is that we're not proposing any point discharge of runoff, surface runoff, or from roof leaders or from the footing drain outlet anywhere near or at the property line. Everything is directed to the rear, to the drywall over here. We have erosion sedimentation controls all shown on the plan, all typical things. Safety fence is proposed at the high side of the wall. If anybody has any specific questions about the site plan, or if I can provide any clarity, I'd be happy to. That's basically it here. As far as soils go, I'll talk briefly about the soils. These are all, per NRCS, excessively well-drained sands and gravels. And again, the one recommendation from Steve Trinkus, the town engineer, was to do a confirmatory test pit
in the area of the dry well. Applicant is happy to accommodate that and schedule that with him, but everything else has been reviewed by town staff and been addressed in the revisions to the site plan.
Which street is Pine Street on there, my bearings?
Route 2, Liberty Street.
But on that map, shown on that picture, which,
Yeah, he's trying to figure out which
Yeah.
is
Pine
up
Street.
there. That's Route 2.
Here's the main, here's Route 2, it's Pine Street.
Pine Street, okay.
okay.
So can I ask a couple of questions? So above, higher than 59 inches, what's the total height, or what's the highest point of the wall?
The highest point, right at the pitch point, just immediately along the west side, along the left side of the structure there, a little over 8 feet at the highest, and then quickly goes down. That's just at the lowest point. I think there's a spot down there, it's like 96 and change. That's the lowest point existing, so that would be the highest exposed face of wall.
Next question, are you gonna keep it this mafia block material, or are you gonna, like, what's it gonna be?
You guys could chime in on that?
Yeah, it's gonna stay that
It's
material.
gonna stay that
Just
way.
identify this as Tony Cimento. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello, yes, it's gonna stay that material.
And then, at some point, could somebody just talk about how we got here? So,
Sure.
you started building, I drove by there today, and there's obviously a big height difference between the other house. I
So-
don't think that neighbor's gonna be here, but,
Let's go through.
yeah, okay.
So, my client is the builder, and as you know these days, he's trying to put construction infill into a lot that was pre-existing. So when you do that, and we have Charlie Elias here, who's our engineer, as well as Jason, is that you have continuing challenges, of course, under the new rules. So you can't put any further drainage onto an abutter than is already existing. So as they're out in the field, and they're putting in the wall that they're allowed to put in, which is the
59 inches.
59-inch wall, that's part of our general permit that was issued in June and July. We have Candace in the building office checking on us, and we're just progressing. There comes a point, our professionals go back out there, and as you put in the foundation, which you know is there, and you begin to backfill it, they're remeasuring and readjusting where a new foundation gets poured, how it's poured these days. It looks a little higher than I remember, but, you know. And then they readjusted and measured over to the wall and realized if they do the correct drainage calculations per law, they can't make it under the 59 inches. There's a potential to have the runoff go up and over that wall at certain locations, obviously, because we have that grade. And certain parts of the grade are fine, and then you have other parts where it was getting too close engineering-wise. So at that point, you take a look and say, well, we're going to go back to the planning office and tell them we're readjusting the site plan, and oh, go to elevate the wall, wait a minute. In Stonington, they have that extra requirement, which I was going to go through, 12.4.9, that you're in a little different category once you go over the requirement for the 5 feet, 60 inches, you fall into a special permit category, which makes some sense because you should go ahead and readjust your engineering, make sure it's safe, make sure you've done all your calculations because the wall in parts will be higher than we anticipated. But the reason we're doing that is not just to put a wall up. It's to meet the other standards of construction that are necessary to keep the drainage on my client's property and properly take care of it. So I'm sure on a night a week before Christmas, you know, we'd rather not be here and work with town staff, but the regs say if you go any higher on a retaining wall, you got to come in. So we're here with our professionals to answer your questions that we feel that no, it's not a voluntary act. We need to comply with the other building standards in the town, and to do it, we've got to go to the height that we're going to. So that's kind of how we brought ourselves here tonight.
Any further questions of the applicant?
Yeah, just one more follow-up question.
No problem.
So we know we got a letter from the neighbor's attorney, and they're gonna be here to talk about this. So I guess my question is, I think their concern is gonna be, you know, looking at an 8-foot wall, because they have a low point in their yard there. Is there another way to do this? Could we do a swale and capture the water on the backside without building an 8-foot wall?
You could do a gentle swale, which is precisely what we're proposing to do. So from the top of foundation wall, if we come down about 2 feet, we can create a little low point there to convey runoff to the rear. In order to do that, that low point has to be below the top back of wall. Otherwise, you just end up with a slope, that cross slope high to low from your foundation to this lesser 59-inch wall. So in order to create that little low point, we need a couple more courses in the wall to bring it up, such that it's about 15, 18 inches below the top of wall, 18 inches below the foundation wall.
So, we understand the concern of the neighbors, surely, and I know that there was a prior application recently approved for a special permit, which I think the opposition's counsel may bring up tonight, which we will respond to, but I guess you could call it the 8 yellowfin retaining wall, which was into a setback and was 15 feet in height. Which was approved because basically the regulations call out that if you're meeting the standards, you do get to put one on your property. It respects the rules, and so you passed it. We are far, far less than half of that type of height requirement. We're trying to keep every inch as low as we can, and then, clear up the grade to cover as much by grade that we can, and then leave the swale that only I can say. I've got engineers and professionals saying this is the way that there will be zero extra drainage going onto the neighbor's property. It happens in construction. I also represent the borough of Stonington, and lately we're wrestling with these 8 or 9 foot fences that are going up all over. They're allowed, but it's disturbing to a neighbor to say, well, I thought I used to look at your house and now I see a 6 or 7 foot fence. But we were not doing it for to protect a view or something. This becomes part of the engineering of completing a construction of the permitted single-family house that's going onto the property. So it's not elective. We feel that we meet the standards of how to construct one of these. Charlie Elias is here tonight if you have questions for him, but he said to me a minute ago, we exceed the required allowances under the building code for any safety issues, any solidity, any shifting of that wall has been covered through his own engineering. So he'll be out there monitoring the construction if we get permission tonight. So that's that issue. Lastly, and I know we have Attorney Keppel to come, and I would say before I forget that we certainly would want to respond to his concerns and his professionals. We don't know what time period that will entail, but we would also agree, I talked to my client earlier, that if need be, we would continue the hearing if necessary to bring in that evidence. We don't want, we know you have a very long agenda tonight, and I believe we have time, Candace, to, if I write it out, to give you some extra time.
Yes, you do.
Okay. So, again, as we finish our presentation, when you go through a special use permit, obviously you're very familiar with it, but those are the standards under 6.4. That the proposal, and I know that the staff has already gone through these, point 1 really doesn't apply. It has to do with a sufficient water supply. 6.4.2, that the public is fully protected for fire, safety, and other, and the equipment, in this case the retaining wall, is designed to eliminate hazards. We've done everything possible to eliminate anything but aesthetics. We can't help the fact that it does need to be a retaining wall at that location. We just assumed it not be, but it's the only way to get the house up. 6.4.3, nothing really to do with transportation services or undue traffic generation. 6.4.4, it will not create at any point of determination any dangerous or objectionable elements. We're not trying to inject an objectionable element. It's a required element, much like solar panels seem to affect people these days, but they are needed for infrastructure. 6.4.5, no adverse effect will result to the character of the district property values, historic features, prosperity, nor to the public health, safety, and welfare of the residents. again, our submission is, when you put new construction in, especially in an existing neighborhood, it lifts the boat. These are expensive these days to put new construction in. And when people say they can buy a comparable house next door that didn't take all the extra costs that Mr. Chimento has to incur, they're going to find their values go up too. 6.4.6, no deleterious impact to the environment. We don't believe that's a result. As a matter of fact, we're trying to protect the environment on the drainage. All applicable federal, state, and local regulations have been complied to. They will be complied to if we're allowed to build this improvement. Consistency with plan of development, of course, we are in the right zone, and we are simply doing a use that's allowed in the zone. So I think we meet all those standards for a special permit. Again, the commission shall have the power to approve, deny, modify any proposal, and we'll certainly hear from the neighbor, but we would address any other issues that they bring up. But we think that it's properly designed, and we would ask you to pass it. That's any questions for me or other staff?
So,
Any
this
questions from the commission?
this is what the neighbor's gonna see? This,
Go ahead. Yeah, so there's already an existing wall on the property,
Yep.
which is right here. So this is the picture of the existing. Right here, so it only is up, each block is 30 inches tall. So at the maximum low point of the neighbor's property, there's 59 inches of exposure. As it goes up to grade, it goes up to 0. So that's the current approved wall that's been already approved, engineered, and installed. The extension would go 1.5 blocks higher on this side. So it'd go 45 inches higher. In some instances, it still, at that point, barely reaches above the 59 on the low points because of the dip in the grading of the neighbor. So that's the proposed, this is existing. This is what it could look like on the back side if we go 4 high, and this is what it looks like on the 4 Pine Street side, which is 3.5. Very, low-end renderings, but just try to keep it simple. So it's 3.5, plus a black aluminum fence on top.
it's right on the property line now, as it is?
The fence is on, the retaining wall, yes, is on the property line.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions of the applicant or their engineers?
Yeah, one more, sorry, I got a lot of them today, but, did you have to fill that lot to get that?
Yeah, so just a quick history on the lot. 2 Pine Street, I believe, was a fill lot for the road improvement on Liberty Street at one point. The lot was covered in invasive bamboo upon, when I bought the lot, December 2024. The rear property line, both of these where the walls existing, had, I believe, somewhere in excess of 200 tons of boulders that we needed to rent a special truck to get out. It was unmaintained, unsightly, creating erosion, a ditch, and just tons of washout. In excavating all that and creating the clean perimeter boundary line of the property, we wanted to just make a nice, clean, square lot, single-family house, graded out, everything legal. To meet the building code, you have to not discharge more water onto anybody's land. In order to do that, you have 2 high points, you swale the middle. You can't do that with a low point. So, that's the request. It's just to extend the existing approved wall.
Any questions, any further questions of this applicant or their representative with the attorney? Any comments, Candy?
Yeah, can you all please sign in?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, pass that around, please.
Just one point of clarification on the 15-foot example, which I have painful recollections on. That we required a heavy landscaping component and screening component on that, as I recall.
The wall was located 5 feet from the property line, so there was one line of Spartan junipers
Yeah.
that was against that, and then the other plantings were to the side of the lot. To the side of the wall. It wasn't buffering a neighbor. It was only buffering
There
its
was
own property.
landscaping though.
Correct.
Okay.
There was,
Thank
and there was a wooded area across, it was right
Yeah.
against the street, and then there was
Mhm.
wooded area across the street from it, some
But
neighbors
this
were
is
looking at it.
right on the property line, as I understand it,
Right,
correct?
right, no
Yeah.
room for a landscape. Any further questions? If none, we'll open it up to the public at this point. Is the commission comfortable doing that?
Yeah, let me just,
We have a
just
list, sign
to,
up
back
list.
to my last question. You cleaned out the lot, but then did you fill it to get to that height, or did you use the existing grades? I'm trying to figure out if you created the problem or.
Yeah, no, so we actually hauled out about 60 truckloads of dirt. So during the excavation, we didn't bring any fill in. If anything, it got hauled out.
That's the question. Thank you.
Do we have a sign-up list for speakers?
Let's see if it's in there.
Thank you. At this point, the public hearing will move to our list and call speakers in order that they signed up. We have 6 public hearings tonight, so we ask that you keep your comments as brief as possible. And if you have a written statement, that you try to paraphrase it as best you can. We have a contract on this room. We have to close the meeting down at 10 o'clock in order to be out by 10:30. Mr. Chimento is here because he was a veteran of a previous meeting and did a very good job of enforcing the speaker limit, so he's here for a second evening. I apologize for that. So we ask that you please paraphrase your comments. We're interested in what everybody has to say, but we want everybody to get a chance to speak. That didn't happen in one of our previous meetings.
If it's appropriate to.
Is your microphone on?
The green, yeah.
The green light.
You gotta
indicates
speak,
that it is.
there you go, now we can
All
hear
right,
you.
here we go. So first of all, I want to thank the commissioner and the commission for allowing us to present more than a 2-minute objection to the project here at hand.
We're still gonna ask that you try to be as brief as possible. If you have exhibits that explain your opposition, that we can understand on our own, that you don't read every word on every mouth.
I'll try not to do that,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, but I do want to thank the commission. I know you commit to public service and your family's home alone, and it sometimes feels like watching paint dry to hear these presentations, but I would like to approach the chair and provide him with some items.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Are these extra copies? Or,
Yes,
okay.
I'll get to the speaker and answer. Excuse me?
I need one for the file.
Of course. My intention was to provide each member with a copy until my Canon MF 451DW malfunctioned, and my talented staff did not have the technical skills to address that. So, oops, there goes. Okay, this is what the wall is going to look like. This is what the wall is going to look like. And although it's an AI-driven picture, my clients know what the wall is going to look like because Mr. Chimento put this wall together and the zoning enforcement officer told him to take it down and to apply for a special use permit major retaining wall. With that said, I want to share with the commission my approach to my opposition on this project, and it is actually twofold. First, I want to present the commission with a historical context of how we got here tonight. And the second thing, and this may deviate from the seasoned land use attorney Avina's approach, is I believe that there is more than one regulation that applies to this application. I believe that there are a series of regulations that govern a special use permit. Not only is it special, it requires a public hearing. And that public hearing affords adjoining property owners and property owners in general their constitutional right under the 14th and 6th Amendment to have due process, to receive notice of the event and have the opportunity to come and speak about how that impacts them. And this is essential for anybody because it guarantees a process to protect your property rights. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you two maps. The first was generated by the applicant and his surveyor and was presented to Mrs. Palmer. The second one, Mrs. Palmer never saw. So to begin the historical trip, the first thing I want to show the commission, which is in those two pamphlets that I provided, is when anyone goes to the town hall and applies for a zoning permit, before they fill it out, they recognize in capital letters the caveat. This application cannot be approved until all required information is provided. When they provide that information, they are given the opportunity to explain their project, and they're also required to disclose to the zoning enforcement officer, our Mrs. Palmer here, if there are any other approvals incident to this application.
Sir, please, we understand our regulations, and if you could keep it to the facts of your objection.
Here's the facts. In the portion of the application where it requires other approvals, the applicant signed NA, not applicable. And so the zoning enforcement officer, who every day has to evaluate an application for its continued compliance with zoning, was led to believe that there was not a requirement for a special use permit. Lo and behold, here we are. And there was no requirement for any other approval for a variance, CAM application, whatever. So the application was filled out, no need to have any other approvals. And then at the top, under the headline of official use only, was a series of conditions that the zoning enforcement officer routinely puts on an application. The first one is really the most important one, and that is that there is a requirement for the footing and roof leaders to drain onto the subject property only. Now, we've heard the applicant talk a lot about water, and from the jump start, he knew that his property had to retain all of the water runoff on his property. I have two maps to show you, and I want to take a careful look at what each map represents.
You said
Anytime you have a question, sir.
you said he had to retain all of the runoff,
Correct.
not just the delta, not just the change in runoff, all of the runoff.
If the application says footing and leaders are to be drained.
That's only a
onto
portion,
subject-
that's only a portion of the runoff. You said all of the runoff.
I can't think of any other reason why there would be runoff allowed by Mrs. Palmer onto other properties that adjoin this property.
Well, I'm not saying there are, but there's other sources of runoff, like grass, driveways, that don't go through roof leaders.
Yeah, I mean, he could have a spring on the property, he could, whatever.
No, I'm talking about runoff water. I'm not talking about groundwater.
The condition of.
So you can proceed.
The condition of the application was that all of the water generated by this residence, which by the way is not a single-family residence, it's a principal residence with an accessory dwelling unit. So it's really two residences, however you call it. So that was a condition of the permit that until this evening, the applicant has failed to accomplish. And his permit, if he's unable to accomplish that condition, is in jeopardy. So let me show you some maps. Excuse me.
Kenny, while he's setting up, I'd like to get a clarification from the town engineer. I don't believe that it's zero runoff. I think it's.
I didn't request zero runoff, it's the permits right in front of you.
I think what this is trying to do is capture roof leaders and concentrate it for us.
I have some maps in a 2x3 size. I don't know how many of them you'd like, but if you want to share, I can pass out 2 or 3.
3 would be good. One on that side, one in the middle, and one on that side.
And I need one for the record.
Is this the same thing we have electronically? Is this part of the?
No idea.
It's not the same thing.
For the record, one side, another side,
Thank you.
and last but not least. The next thing that I wanted to show. Oh, here. The next thing I wanted to show the commission is a second map. And this one, I'm sorry to say, you'll have to pass around, but I have a 2x3 version that I will point to. Where would the chair want me to put this?
Let's just start at that end, I'm sorry.
For the record.
And if I could ask, sir, with the first map that you handed out, could you explain what it is so we can start there?
I have every intention of doing just that. So this first map is the map that accompanied the application presented to Mrs. Palmer in February of 2025. February 13th to be exact. And as the applicant has said, he purchased the property in December of 2024. And the first thing you should note on the map is that it was created on January 20th, 2025, approximately more or less 1 month after the purchase of the property. Now, I want to show you what the map represents in terms of topography, because we all know that water flows downhill, and the topography is an important criteria for the zoning enforcement officer to judge the compliance with the permit. So if you look on what I believe is the western side, no, excuse me, I'm wrong. If you look on the eastern side of the map that abuts Liberty Street, you will see an elevation, a contour. And that contour is 106 feet above sea level. I would then direct your attention to the western side of the property that shares a common boundary with my client. This map indicates that that western side has an elevation of 98 feet above sea level. So essentially, this map portrays the lot topography as a gentle slope over the depth of the lot that is 95 feet. Now, I want to draw your attention to the second map that I provided you. That map represents the work of the state of Connecticut that in 2023 flew the entire state in contours of 2 feet, so they have an accurate record of the existing topography of every blank piece of property owned in Connecticut. This, with the assistance of a licensed surveyor, James Bernardo, is focused on Pine Street, 2 Pine Street. And there are some stunning changes in comparing one map to the other. And just as the applicant's survey indicated on the, let's call it Liberty Street instead of east and west, there shows a topography of 106 feet above sea level. And the property continues westward at a reasonably level, gently sloping topography. But what should jump out at you is all of these elevation lines on the western portion of the property. And what in fact it depicts is that as you travel into the depth from Liberty Street towards my client's property, for a distance of about 80 feet, it remains that gentle sloping topography. But about 20 feet from the border of the western portion of the property, suddenly the topography changes. It goes from 104 feet, another 6 feet toward the western boundary, to 102 feet. And then, in the course of the next 20 feet, it drops to 95 feet. So that means that over the course of 20 feet, the elevation has dropped, guess what, 7 feet. No accident that they're here asking for a retaining wall, because how are they going to get to the other end of the property and place the principal residence and an accessory dwelling unit when it's all going downhill? Now, I don't believe to this very moment that Mrs. Palmer has ever seen this map, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that if the elevation over 20 feet drops from 102 feet above sea level down to 98 feet above sea level, there is a differential of 7 feet. Now, if Mrs. Palmer had known this, and my clients were lucky, she might have posed the question to the applicant, how are you going to create a wall to maintain this elevation? You've said in your application you don't need any other approvals. And based on that representation, and based on the map, which I believe the other thing I wanted to show you is down in the lower left-hand corner, the surveyor who did a A2 survey, just let me get the terminology right, said this map had a topographical accuracy of a class T2. I'm not going to try to explain to you what that is, but it is some sort of proclamation that this map accurately depicts the existing topography of the property. Remember, only 3 months have transpired since he bought the property and got his permit on March 13th of 2025. And before that permit was issued, he didn't take 20 tons of rock off the property. He didn't do anything to the property because he didn't have a permit in which to authorize that work. So this issue, this discrepancy, directly correlates into the topic of tonight's meeting: water, water retention. The fact that Mrs. Palmer wasn't made aware of this incredible dip in the property impacted her judgment as to whether the permit should be issued. And that elusive condition of maintaining the water on the applicant's property and preventing its runoff is a central theme and elusive condition that the applicant has not yet accomplished. So what I want to tell you historically is that the information that was provided to Mrs. Palmer may not have met that bold capital caveat that people encounter when they seek a zoning permit. That is, it may not have provided, and I quote, "This application cannot be approved until all required information is provided." I'm a proponent that this map, reflecting the accurate topography of the property, is required information that is provided, and the applicant cannot be approved until that accurate information is provided. So the other approach I have to this matter
Are you
is,
about to wrap this up, sir?
no, I'm not.
How much time do you think you're going to require?
I stated in my letter that I've been a practicing land use attorney for 42 years, and I estimate that I would take an hour to make this presentation. I have 3 expert witnesses, and that's just the way it is. These people have every right to protect their property rights, and I alerted the commission as respectfully as I could. And I hope that satisfies your query about how long I'm going to take and how long the witnesses that I'm going to present. I have embraced that notion since the moment I got up here. Okay? I am. So, my approach, unlike Attorney Avina, is that you have to examine every regulation that is germane to this application. Not only do you have to look at the regulations, but you have to go ahead to Chapter 20 and look at the zoning definitions and terminology. Because how the heck can you understand a regulation if you don't know the definition for the words that comprise that regulation? So I took a deep dive into that. And in doing so, I found many regulations that cover the public's right when a special use permit is submitted. It experiences a higher scrutiny because of its inherent impact onto adjoining property owners. So there are words in these regulations, and I will start with what Attorney Avina had referenced as 12.4.9.
Sir, please address your remarks to the board, not to Attorney Avina.
I am addressing my comments to the board.
Aside,
I'll be happy to do so. So 12.4.9 is entitled Major Retaining Wall. So the first thing I did was go and look at the definition for retaining wall. And I discovered that a retaining wall, per the definition, is a wall that retains earth and organic matter. There is nothing at all in 12.4.9 or the definition of retaining wall that makes any reference to water. It's earth. So then I went and I looked at the definition for earth, and lo and behold, it was dirt and loam. No mention of water. Then I went to the definition of retaining wall and discovered that it too had no reference to water. So part of my opposition to this application is that it's for a retaining wall, and the definition of a retaining wall is not to channel water onto your property through berms and deep wells or dry wells. It's to retain the earth material. Now, there's no doubt that in looking at this wall and the fill behind it, that it is retaining earth. It is retaining soil. But that's not what this applicant asked for. He asked for a special use permit for a major retaining wall, still chasing that elusive dream of meeting the condition that all of the water generated from that residence would remain only on that property. And I believe that assertion may be correct, because when you look at the applicant's application for the special use permit, it asks the musical question, what is the description of this project that you're asking a retaining wall for? And the applicant describes, if you give me a moment to find his application, on the second page of the special use permit application, it's required for the applicant to provide a project description, the overall development size, square feet, blah, 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 and pertinent information about this proposal. And this is how the applicant responded to his request for a major retaining wall defined as holding back earth. He said, extend the height of approved retaining wall from 59 inches to 105 inches. This extension is 200 feet long and will make it so, and here's the important part, it will make it so the water runoff stays on my property by way of swale, yard drain, with a dry well. He's still trying to make and meet and comply with Mrs. Palmer's premier condition to keep that water on the property. And as of this day, he hasn't accomplished it. But after he put the whole wall up illegally and had to be told to take it down and apply to this commission, he applied asking your assistance to meet that fundamental condition that he could not meet. Then, in furtherance of his pursuit of this, he filed an impact statement. No mention of earth in that impact statement, only the mention that he would not be able, but for the wall, to keep all of the water essentially on his property. So now you have an applicant for a major retaining wall, describing his project as retaining water, and providing an impact statement on how the wall will enable him to retain the water. One of the ironic things is that because it's a special use permit, and because the regulation 12.4.9 makes the assertion that the Planning and Zoning Commission finds that this type of wall has or could have a negative impact on adjoining property owners. This regulation was adopted in September of I'm in another century. In September of 2020, authored by the former planning director, Keith Grimes. And when he provided this, the commission recognized the negative potential impact, adverse impact, on the creation of such a wall. And so the commission at the time determined that they didn't want to hear people up here with a 4-foot retaining wall. That was something the staff could do. But they recognized that if somebody came in with a 7-foot or higher, and my calculation on this wall is that it is 8.5 feet tall, and that it has a 4-foot fence on top of it. So you're talking about a 12.5 sized wall. So in 2020, the commission arrived at the 7-foot benchmark and unanimously approved the regulation. Now, there's been some talk about a previous application. It was filed by a gentleman named Lemke on Yellowfin Drive in Mystic. You look and carefully examine the applicant's application, you don't find any kind of reference to a buffer, to any screening, to any land, architectural landscape plan, nothing. The Lemke started in November of 2025. They submitted a landscape plan to this commission, and the commission rejected it and told them, go give us something better. So in February of 2025, they presented another landscape plan, which gained the approval of the commission. And just by way of comparison, the applicant's application, and I'm sorry to be so redundant, it might be 12 pages long if you include the list of abutters. The Lemke's application is 192 pages long. It has a series of engineering drawings, it has 2 separate landscape plans, and most importantly, the wall is on the Lemke's property. I can tell you with certainty that since 1920, Jesus, I'm sorry, I'm still in the other century. Since 2020 and the adoption of this regulation, no applicant has been approved for a retaining wall on the adjoining property owner without a buffer being on their property. This application disregards or perhaps eviscerates the letter and the spirit of the regulation, because ordinarily it's a foregone conclusion if that you're going to place a 7-foot wall retaining on your property, you're going to do everything you can to prevent any adverse impact onto the adjoining property. And if you examine your regulations and requirements for a special use permit, the applicant is actually required to submit not an impact statement, but an adverse impact statement explaining how his project will adversely impact the adjoining property owners, so that then the commission can guide him through the process of mitigating that adverse impact. The applicant's submission of an impact statement requesting the wall so he can retain the water on his property doesn't mention that any adversity is going to be created at all. It is relegated to what his needs are and the impact on him for not being able to construct an 8.5-foot high concrete wall on the boundary of my client's property. Not 6 inches from the property, which is required, but right smack on the line. And in doing so, he provides a reckless and divisive impact on adjoining property owners. And since he bought the property and knew the topography and had his engineer and survey go out there, it may have occurred to him, hey, if I build this wall right on the property, that's going to have an adverse impact. And there is a letter in your packet from Gregory Erb, who has an appraisal business that he has been conducting and founded in 1999. So I get a chance to visit the past century. And in that determination by Mr. Erb, he states that, excuse me for a minute, maybe 2 minutes. He addresses this letter to my client, and he says, in my opinion, the height of the proposed wall and its proximity to the dwelling located at 4 Pine Street would have an adverse impact on the market value of 4 Pine Street. Also, since the wall is proposed to be located on the property line, it would require the owner of 4 Pine Street to buffer the wall in order to limit its impact. So now, in order to preserve and protect the value of his property, instead of leaving his house every day and mowing the lawn and looking at this behemoth wall, he has to use his own property to buffer the property and preserve the value. That's a taking. When somebody has to use their land for the benefit of an adjoining property owner, and I'm not talking voluntarily, people make trades of boundaries and all the time, but in this case, there was no overture on the behalf of the applicant that, hey, I'm going to put this wall up, where would you like the buffer to go? Well, they don't want it on their property, but they require it in order to preserve the value of their property. And if you look at the map that was prepared by them, you can see that this principal residence and accessory dwelling unit are pushed right up against the rear of the property. I'm told that an intelligent builder builds to the condition of the land that the structure is going to be on. This is hardly an application that takes into consideration the land and the structure that's supposed to be placed on it. And Mr. Erb recognized that and had no qualms about presenting that finding. Now, one of the things that zoning is supposed to do, since it's the lawful enforcement of property rights, is to place safety valves or safety precautions in their regulations to prevent as much adverse impact as possible. That's why the Lemke's application is 192 pages long. That's why they came to you knowing that they'd have to provide you with landscaping plans. And why? To protect the adverse impact on adjoining property owners. And they sure as hell didn't consider having to put the buffer on someone else's property. And that's what this gentleman is proposing to do. And this commission, for a number of reasons, should deny that application. First of all, it's not a retaining wall. It doesn't meet the definition of a retaining wall, and it doesn't retain earth. It's to retain the water on his property. There's nothing from preventing him of coming back and correctly asking for an application to conduct an activity that is defined in the regulations and provided for in the regulations. He asked for the wrong thing. He ignored the fact that the topography that was existing would require a major retaining wall. He ignored the fact that once the property was developed, he could go ahead and put a 7-foot retaining wall until the zoning enforcement officer said, wait a minute, that's not what you asked for in the application, and that is not currently compliant with the zoning regulations. So if you want to keep a 7-foot wall, you're in violation of the regulations. My duty as the zoning enforcement officer is to enforce those regulations. You're in violation. Take the wall down to 59 inches and go see the commission about an application for a major retaining wall. In doing so, he did not focus, again, on anything but his primal condition that he agreed that he represented to the zoning enforcement officer he could accomplish without any other approval. Now, the gentleman has every right to come in and modify his application, to say to Mrs. Palmer, hey, I have recently discovered the need to have a major retaining wall. He didn't do that. He built the wall. She told him to take it down, and he applied here, furthering his quest to meet that condition.
You've said that like 5 times.
With
Coming
reason.
full circle around to where you started. I'm going to ask you to wrap this up.
I
You can
I'm
submit whatever
hard-pressed.
you want in writing. I'm asking you to wrap this up. We have a long meeting tonight. We have 6 other people that want to speak on this application. And you've already taken a half hour, and you're rambling. You're saying the same thing over and over again. I get the gist. I get the gist of what you're saying.
You do get
the
the
topo.
gist.
Of course I do.
Well,
the topo. I'm not
happy-
gonna paraphrase it for you. I'm asking you to do that, and for one reason or another, you're rambling off in a million directions. Please, just paraphrase your objection and conclude your remarks. You've taken way more than your share of the meeting tonight.
Well, let me be succinct. And first I should apologize to the applicant because maybe what I'm about to say might not be viewed as complimentary. But I would say to the commission succinctly that since day one, the applicant has misrepresented his plan to the zoning enforcement officer, to the detriment of
I'm going to have to
the
object at this point, Mr. Chairman. We have the zoning permit for the property. The zoning officer is fully informed of all the circumstances of the property. The only reason we're here tonight is the difference between 60 inches and 105. That's all we're looking for, not...
You'll have an opportunity to rebut, Mr.
Yeah, and I guess I'm also just, Mr. Chairman, that we're prepared to continue, and Mr. Keppel agrees to give him additional time next month. I've already signed that, so if you want, sir, we will let you continue.
Please, you'll have an opportunity for rebuttal.
Yeah.
I understand. You may conclude.
In conclusion, it wasn't until 7 o'clock tonight that Mrs. Palmer ever saw this map. And I'd be happy to continue till next month. And now I'd like the commission to hear from Mr. Tebbetts, who since 1996 has had a business as a consultant for code compliance. And he can get down into what the regulations say and what they actually mean as applied to this application. Thank you for indulging me in this presentation, and the paint continues to dry on the walls.
Thank you. Next item our next speaker on the list is Mark Kepler, is it?
I'm Mark Keppel, Eric's.
Oh, okay. Jason Reynolds.
Mark Tibbetts.
No, he's,
Yeah,
Tebbetts is here. That's,
Tebbetts is further down the list.
oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Well, point of order, Mr. Chairman, if you could grant us the leeway. He's signed up as a speaker. If you want a presentation.
Okay, fine. If you want him to speak next, that's fine.
Thank you, Chairman.
I'm going to ask you, sir, please do a better job than the previous speaker of paraphrasing your remarks.
I'll be quick. This is for you.
Thank you, we appreciate that.
The middle podium?
Yeah, whichever one, yeah.
You have to speak right, you have to speak right into the mic.
Okay, first thing, we're really talking about the cart before the horse. We really should have been, or this application should have been before you, before there was any foundation
You have to.
out on
you
the
have
street.
to- You know, actually, I think the mic on the podium, you can take it to your hand and take it with you.
Can you hear me better now?
I think you can take it out of the stand and walk back to your exhibit. Just-
I really won't need to, I just, what I
Is it
handed
on?
out to you. Does it? It says it's on green.
Could someone help him with the mic?
Permission to do so?
Could someone from the staff help?
Testing, 1, 2. Just keep it close.
This is what I didn't see. All right, thank you. A couple things. Really, we're looking at something, the cart before the horse kind of thing. This whole application should have been here before the permit was issued. The permit for this retaining wall is a major, major part of this project. Now, I've been in the construction industry for quite a while. I should probably introduce myself a little bit. My name is Mark Tebbetts. I've been a licensed building official in the state of Connecticut since 1987. I'm a master code professional. I'm also a certified zoning enforcement officer. I won't go into all the other details, but I've been doing it for well over 30 years. Most people design the house to fit the property. In this particular case, we're trying to design the property to fit the house. It would have been much simpler to come in and try to get this permit for a retaining wall before the house was built, and then make the house fit the property as it is. If you look next door to the neighbor, you'll see that the neighbor has a walkout basement. But on this piece of property, we're trying to build an 8-foot wall to retain dirt, to keep a house that's way up out of the ground. A few things that I've handed you a permit there. And I just wanted to point out a few of your regulations that
Pick up the mic.
I wanted to point out a few regulations in you that pertain to this particular wall. First thing is, this is page 113 of the zoning regulations. Retaining walls of 3 feet or more in height shall require submission to the for a zoning permit. Major retaining walls of 5 feet or more in height within building setbacks shall require submission for a special permit in accordance with 12.4.9. In reviewing it, I've underlined some of the things here, and it says locate close to property lines have the potential for negative impacts on adjacent property owners. That's exactly what's happening here. An 8-foot wall on a property line. If you think about it, there's no buffer at all, and you certainly wouldn't want your neighbor building his little garden shed on the property line. But this is a whole entire length of that property line, over 8 feet tall. The rest of these impacts warrant review by the commission when such walls are adjacent to the neighboring properties or to public rights of way. General regulations. Construction of new major retaining walls of 5 feet or more in height shall require a special use permit application when the wall is located in a required yard. And that's where it is. It's not on the property, it is right on the property line in the required yard. So no buffering will be between this wall and the neighbor's property, because it is, I saw a picture tonight with the property line staked right up against this particular wall. Review criteria, this is C, 12.4.9, major retaining walls. C, a special use permit application for a major retaining wall in a building setback shall address potential negative impacts on adjacent properties, public infrastructure, and aesthetics, public safety, and including motorist visibility. The commission may require modifications of design elements to mitigate potential impacts, including landscaping, safety fencing, stormwater management feature, and/or modifications to site grading. That's just under the major retaining wall part. Going back to this is page 145 of your regulations. Under obtaining permits, site plan showing the proposal in sufficient detail to allow appropriate findings of compliance is important. That's 15.1.1, obtaining permits. B, that wasn't done in this case. There was a lot of confusion about what was going to be built, where it was going to be built, and you can see right now we're having a big discussion about what's a 50-inch difference in the height of the wall. How did we get to a point where it's 50 inches? A couple inches maybe, but 50 inches is a significant problem with the design. And again, I should emphasize that you should have built designed the house to the lot, not the lot to the house. E, under the same number, the impact statement meeting the standards of 16.3 when applying to special use approved. I haven't really seen an impact statement that says, other than I need to do this because I messed up and I built the house a little bit too high. Compliance with application and revocation, and I won't go through this, but the zoning enforcement officer has the right to call this a violation and take back the permit that she'd already issued. And I won't go into setback lines or side lot lines because you know what that is. And I did, on page 188, I underlined the retaining wall major, a retaining wall of 5 feet in height or more, and its highest point is measured from ground level to the top of the wall. 105 inches is a considerable wall right on the property line. But there's more to this than that. I just went through a couple of quick items in the zoning regulations that you need to consider here tonight. But there's more to it than that, because this retaining wall required a building permit. I've given you a copy of the residential code for the state of Connecticut here, and I'll go through just a couple sections. First of all, on page 1-5, R105.2, work exempt from permit. This goes and it lists the things that do not require a permit. And it says retaining walls. Retaining walls that are not higher than 3 feet, measured from finished grade. This is well over that amount. Even the original wall that they were talking about was well over that amount, and it required a building permit. This is a system type wall that has very specific construction requirements. Now, I've seen a picture here that leads me to believe that there may not be a proper foundation under what was put there. Now, I could be wrong, it's only one small spot, but since there was never a permit issued for it, which was required, there was never an inspection done of the stone and foundation for this wall, which was required. I don't know how you can let the wall stand without doing a serious inspection of the wall itself. Now, I've known Charlie Elias for probably 30 years. We've worked together in Groton. He's a good engineer, but he wasn't out there all the time to see all the things that were done with this wall, and it just brings it into a little bit of a question about whether the proper foundation was put underneath it. And on top of that, is it a structure? Does it require a permit? Yes, it does, because the building code's definition of structure is that which is built or constructed. So there's no question in my mind this required a permit. Section R404.4, retaining walls. Retaining walls that are not laterally supported at the top and that retain in excess of 48 inches of unbalanced fill or retaining walls exceeding 24 inches in height that resist lateral loads in addition to the soil shall be designed in accordance with the accepted engineering practice to ensure stability against overturning sliding. Now, what I observed is this portion of this wall is right on top of the grade. That means there's a good chance that this wall can slide. Excessive foundation pressure and water uplift retaining walls shall be designed for a safety factor of 1.5. I won't go into the rest because it really doesn't matter too much. The bottom line is it needed a permit, it needed inspections, it would have been reviewed. If that had been done, she would have known what was going on, and she would have been able to make a good call before the foundation was poured, and we had a house that didn't belong there because it was built wrong, and it was probably not the right house for this piece of property. So it's kind of like a whole kerfuddle of things that went on because not the right formula wasn't followed to begin with. Now, I've spoken real fast and gone real over a lot of information, but there is one thing that kind of bothered me, and I haven't had a chance to look at the foundation, the retaining pond, or where the water is going from the roof and the footing drains. And I think I heard them say that the roof and the footing drains were going into the same drywall. I don't know if you've got any of you builders, but that's a big no-no when you take all that roof water, dump it into a cistern that will then backfeed into the foundation wall. If you want to flood your basement during a big storm, that's the best way to do it. So that alone, if you have two separate cisterns, fine, but all of a sudden I'm kind of worried if we're trying to collect the footing drains at that point, how deep in the ground is that catch basin or the drywall? Because it's got to be below the footing drains. So if you got an 8-foot wall, you may be 10, 12 feet below grade on that thing. So it just brought up a question. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Michael Harrington. Evening, sir.
Good evening. So, my name is Michael Harrington. I live at 4 Pine Street, and I just want to go through a little bit of the process of what we've been through to get to this point. Mark's going to help me out here.
I'm not going to talk anymore.
So this is a picture of the lot before any construction was done. And if you stood right there and you looked at the road, you would know that that's more than 5 feet. It's that obvious. You don't need any measurement instrument. You can tell. This is when we started digging. If you would notice the property line and where the dirt was, that was the first visit to the zoning office. because there was no erosion control and all the dirt was going on my property. Next. Now we have erosion control. Notice where the dirt's going, over the top. Next. This was the result of a hurricane, according to Mr. Shimento. I had a landscaper that day that had to clean that up. This is when we decided where the wall was going to go. Mr. Shimento asked if he could cut the tree down. I decided that it wasn't a good idea because it was a boundary. Notice the pink line. Notice the stone and where the property line is. Next. We decided to cut the tree. This shows Mr. Shimento's property marker and the location of the wall. Huh? The property line is a stake right here. So I read a little bit about this, but this pink line is a property line, and that stone is on my property, which I believe is encroachment. Now, in his response, he stated that there was 12 inches of stone under this wall, and in the application it stated that there needed to be 12 inches. I put a shovel in the ground on Saturday, and I measured 4.5 inches. And I did a quick Google search, and it says that is a good reason for the wall to fail. Where's it going to fail? My property. This is the finished product. Looks nice, right? And if you drive down Liberty Street, apparently you can't get short blocks, so what he did is use 2 different products. This is what happens when a squirrel leaves their nuts on top of the wall and it washes out. Who's going to clean that? That's all. Thank you.
Can I have the photos for an exhibit, please?
Absolutely.
Do you have all the other information that was presented there, Candy?
We're happy to give her all the information we have.
Just this, I think this is the only thing I need. I don't want the
Okay.
board, I just want the photos.
Okay, give me a minute.
Okay.
Next person on the list is Brian from, I'm not even going to try the last name, at 210 Liberty Street. Evening, sir. If you would state your name.
How you doing? Brian Hoyt, I own 210 Liberty Street. I just want to put my opinion in that I was forward. I approve what's going on here, and I think that it cleaned up the property a lot. The lot, I actually owned it, I sold it in 21, I think. It was all overgrown with bamboo and invasive stuff. So what he's done so far and it's cleaning up, it's looking good, I think. And as far as the grade in the back, the hill was always like that. It's just all the invasive plants and trees and everything blocked it off. Pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this application? Anyone else that wishes to speak either for or against or make a general comment? Hearing none, would the applicant's attorney like rebuttal?
Just a point of order, I had a couple of letters to submit to the board. One is from a licensed arborist suggesting what is required for an appropriate buffer.
We'll accept the letters. You can submit them to Candy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Would the applicant's attorney desire rebuttal at this time, or any of the representatives?
Thank you. We are prepared for rebuttal, but we'd rather postpone, if that's okay, to January, give the commission some time to get on with their agenda, but we will come back and respond to these comments. We've submitted the extension to the staff.
So I need to make a motion then to
Continue.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to continue the public hearing for Attorney Chimento, PZ 25446 SVP until our next scheduled meeting, which is January 16th? Oh, January 6th, I mean. Okay, yeah, I thought, just for clarification, was
It's
the
a
6th?
January 6th.
Oh, it is 6th, okay.
Motion to continue by Ryan. Is there a second?
Second motion.
seconded by Commissioner Morrissey. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Matters continued. We move on to item,
Attorney Keppel, you had letters that you were submitting as an exhibit?
Public hearing.
B and, are they combined? B
Well,
and
you
C?
spoke about them.
Continued from November 18th.
I'll take them, I've already written them in.
Is Attorney Casey here?
We're here.
Are you gonna handle both of these matters at the same time as you've done in the past, John?
Yes, for the record, Attorney John Casey, on behalf of the applicant, we would like this to be a joint hearing on both of the matters.
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reopen the public hearing for PZ 2538ZC Redco Stonington, and also for PZ 2539 SPA and GTP J. Casey.
Motion to reopen items B and C as read by Ryan. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Morrissey. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? No one's opposed. The commission is in session.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Again, for the record, John Casey from Robinson & Cole on behalf of the applicant. We're continuing a public hearing on the Stonington Tech Center, as we call it. If you recall, we gave a full presentation at the first time we were with you. But I'll briefly just remind the commission where we're at and what we're doing. This is an application to amend the NDD that's already been approved for this to replace what was proposed as a medical facility and recreational center with the tech center. It's on the same property. It takes up the same area in the NDD as those two prior uses, but with this new use. So we have the NDD master plan amendment, and in addition to replacing the medical office and pickleball with the technology center, we're also proposing to create a walking path that will encircle the entire NDD. And then the other application is the site plan for the technology center, so we can move right into obtaining all our final permits to move forward with construction in a timely manner. Our client's really anxious to keep this moving forward. And so with me tonight, I do have Michael Leach and Colin Leach and Phil Biondo, representing the owners, Redco Stonington LLC, Stonington Village Partners LLC, and CRT1. From BL Companies, I have Matt Bruton, our civil engineer, and Mike Kirker for traffic. Mike is here, I think, really just for safety. We did a full presentation on traffic, landscape architecture, and architecture at our first presentation, and we're not really intending to go over those, but we have the staff here to answer any questions if you have any that have come up since the last time. Really, what I want to do is turn it over to Matt. I think we're trying to get our presentation working. Matt will review the changes in the plans from what was originally submitted, and those changes are primarily in response to comments from the town engineer regarding stormwater management on the site. I should say that in addition to the site plan, we also need a groundwater protection permit for the technology center, since we are in that special zone. So I'll just like we're just trying to get access to the presentation system.
Problem, can't get the computer work?
Mr. Chairman. You guys hear me? Just trying to get it connected to the screen. Yeah, just trying to get it connected to the screen. Did you just email that to me? Yeah. I've not got it yet. I'm on the Wi-Fi. You got the Wi-Fi? Yeah. Oh, here it is. I don't see a link in your email.
There you go. Yeah.
I didn't click anything there.
There you go.
No, that's still, that's her. Okay. That work? Everybody see that?
Yes.
Apologize for the delay there. For the record, my name is Matthew Bruton. I'm an engineer, professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with EL Companies, address at 355 Research Parkway in Meriden, Connecticut. John went over a couple of these already just graphically, so I'll just move forward with these. Again, this is just a reminder of project site. Obviously, the project location here, just as a quick reminder, right, 5 acres in the neighborhood development district on the corner of Liberty and Balltown Road. Previously approved master plan that John discussed. Proposed master plan. So just a quick reminder about the site plan. Obviously, the residential, the grocery, McDonald's are all to remain on site. And the MOB and recreational use from the prior master plan approval is being replaced by the office building with the parking spaces. Reminder that we have a full access drive to Voluntown Road. We have a drop-off and pickup area adjacent to the main entrance, EV charging, and all the other like some associated stuff. None of this has changed, as John kind of mentioned, from our previous time in front of the board here. What we're mostly focused on was revisions solely addressing engineering comments. I'm happy to say we have, with the exception of a few minor changes that the town engineer is happy to address as potential conditions of approval. So what we've done really since we've last been here, we've done some extensive soil testing and test pits on site to find areas for potential infiltration to recharge groundwater. We found some small areas on site where that is possible. So the current drainage plan is shown on the plan up on the screen here now. So again, the whole goal of this redevelopment would be to balance peak flows, post-construction, pre-construction, provide water quality improvements, and maintain drainage patterns, and we've done that. We're accomplishing that by catch basins with deep sumps and hoods, hydrodynamic separators, a gravel wetland, a subsurface infiltration system. All this does is accomplish those goals, as I mentioned, and there's the final discharge and connection to this system in Voluntown Road. We've talked about before, we provided a operation and maintenance manual as part of our stormwater management report for the ongoing maintenance once this is constructed and to be followed for the life of the system. And as the applicant has done in prior developments in town, is to provide those reports to this agency for review to make sure we're in compliance once construction is complete. So kind of that's just really the big change that I think was held over from the last meeting, is getting engineering's concurrence on the design. Happy with the progress we've made since then, and I'll keep it short and brief, and happy to answer any questions if you guys have any.
I have a couple. Can you go back to that plan? There are two things that look like walls. One around the whole sort of, I guess, plan east side, and one on the north there, that dark colored heavy line. What is that? I can't find any reference to it on the plan.
Can you guys see there? You see my mouse on the left-hand side there?
Yeah.
So if I move it slowly so you can follow it, in this location here, there's a retaining wall there.
Okay.
Yep, and you're correct.
And then up on the north, that.
Yeah, and the northern corner here kind of wraps around the area of the curvature of the proposed parking lot. There's another retaining wall there.
Is it over 60 inches?
I did fit that.
That's a good one.
I can double check for you.
Thank you for the brevity.
I don't know off the top of my head. Give me a second. I will say that that one towards the rear, you're about to accept an application for the next phase of development of residential. That wasn't, so there might be some further coordination with that application.
Okay, you don't need to answer that now. And I guess just to continue sort of my last question is, we talked about at the last meeting, the chairman asked whether or not we could. So in your first go around, this was one development. Now it seems to have turned into two separate developments. And there was some shared parking. There were some driveways that connected.
Not really. In the yeah. Thank you.
I guess for me now, it sort of seems like two different projects, and I wonder if we should have sort of a buffer along that north there, a little more landscaping to protect the view from the residential sites to what now is a pretty tall building, 40 feet. But and I probably should have asked the landscape architect that last month, but I.
Sorry, here, let me answer your first question. It's like the grading and drainage, so there's a wall that peaks around 8.5, 9 feet at its peak in that upper corner. Obviously tapers down to, smaller, 1 to 2 feet as it gets back to grade. What was your question relating to
So
landscaping?
what side is the high side? The high side is on the On the new technology center
Yeah,
side?
our application is on the high side, and it'll slope down towards the residential
To the
portions, to closer to the grocer. Can you repeat your question on the landscaping?
I think that wall might help act as a little buffer, but I was gonna ask if we could get some heavier landscaping in between between what now is sort of looks like a residential site and a commercial site. And I know we don't have it at the Stop and Shop, but
Yeah, I mean, there's
it's worth asking.
I think our landscape architect testified the last time about, and Matt can pull up the plan.
Yeah, I got it here. So you can see, there's obviously a slope, obviously from the property line up to the base of our wall. Then our wall goes up. That'll vary in height, obviously, from 1 foot to 8 feet at the peak in that corner, which is closest to the road. Again, there's obviously going to be a fence on top of that, just from a safety standpoint of making sure no one's climbing or jumping over a wall. And then we do show a variety of between the wall and the back of our parking lot. So I'll just highlight it here so it pops a little bit. This landscaped area here that goes all the way around. We do show a variety of trees and shrubs that's densely planted in that gap between that. 'Cause it's not really a strip that you'd want to maintain in terms of mowing or rock or anything like that. So there's a pretty heavy buffer there, just right at the retaining wall.
And we do have, I've said before, this project wants to move forward quickly, so you are accepting a new application for phase 2 of the residential buildings, and that will show the interconnection at this area. That's on the screen now because there's going to be there's going to be a residential building in that area. I don't know if you can go back to the master plan.
Okay, yeah, we
Yeah.
have those plans.
Yeah.
And we'll talk
Yeah,
about
sorry.
them, I think.
Right. Just to preview a little bit, there'll be opportunities there for landscaping as well.
All right, just one more question from me because I'm nosy. What's the material for the walking path? Is that going to be gravel or?
I don't think we'd fully decided on what was, the most appropriate there, whether it was like a bark mulch or something of that nature that would just allow recreation without, obviously increasing impervious area within that kind of wetland upland area. No, I don't think that should necessarily be asphalt.
Not up by the pond.
No.
That's all for me, thanks.
Any other questions?
I have a comment.
Commissioner
It's
Morrissey?
Morrison.
Fine, whatever.
We talked about this a little bit last time. It's a lot of parking for the building. And is there a way you would consider doing a phased parking approach?
So
Do most-
your regulations require
But
320.
it also allows for a phased parking.
Yeah, so we do show obviously one more than what's required there. There's been some talks about, potentially tenants and what they would need, day 1 versus year 1 versus year 10. So open to considering that, but at this point, we don't really have a firm commitment on who's going to be occupying the building, but we may be coming back and potentially requesting some deferment of things at that time when a tenant's more well-known.
Okay, so you can, what I'm saying is you don't have to build it all
Correct.
immediately.
Yeah, and if we don't have to, don't need
You
to,
need it.
yeah, that's something we'd seriously consider coming back, because obviously it's less impervious and less money for paving.
So I think the answer to the question is we would consider phased parking, but at this point, we'd like to get the site plan approved as presented. I know that there's no assurance we'd come back, but as Matt said, with the sort of ongoing nature of discussions with tenants, potential tenants, the inclination is to do less parking if we can.
Thank you.
Any further questions? No? Peter?
I'm all set, thank you.
Anyone else?
No.
Okay. Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I see there's a few people on the list, so I would
Yes,
just...
there are.
Yeah.
We'll move to public input.
Yeah, and then we'll just wrap up, hopefully when we're
Okay,
done.
fine. Let me grab the list.
I can get it.
were those people who spoke last time? Did anybody sign into the 1216, Chuck?
I'm sorry?
I wrote 1216 next to a
Yep.
blank line. Was there anybody?
Okay, so everybody above 1216 has
Was
already
last
spoken?
month's, yes.
Okay, then I don't think we have anybody else on the list.
I don't see anybody else, yeah.
Well, let me just ask the audience, does anyone wish to make a comment, either for or against, or a general comment on this? Seeing none, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. I just want to remind the commission that we have asked for a waiver from the impact statement on the NDD amendment. But this is our third go-around with this NDD, so I don't want to gild the lily. We believe this is a great development opportunity for the town. It's already under construction. As I sort of previewed, the phase 2 of residential is on your way. We look forward to being in front of you again next month for that application. We're very excited to get this piece, this amendment done. We think it complies with the regulations in terms of what the NDD requires and what the purpose is. We think it'll be a great addition to the town. We are very excited with the Architectural Design Review Board's unanimous approval of the design. I think it'll be a great looking building, and as you come into that section of town, and really just the start, hopefully, of the development from the highway into this area. And that when it comes to the considerations in the regs, and again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but compliance with the plan of conservation and development, compatibility with surrounding neighborhoods, harmony, plan of conservation and development compliance, harmony with the surrounding neighborhoods, and furtherance of the purposes of the NDD zone. We feel well, as we have twice already, established that we meet those criteria, and that this change does not in any way materially change your prior determinations, and that this amendment should be approved, and the site plan to move forward with the building itself should be approved, and we look forward to your positive action on it this evening. Thank you.
Do anyone have any other questions of the applicant's attorney or any of the representatives here this evening?
No.
Is the commission comfortable closing the public hearing? Candy, do you have any further comments?
No.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion then to close the public hearings for both PZ 2538ZC Redco Stonington and also PZ 253 SPA plus GPP CRT LLCJKC.
Motion to close by Ryan, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Morrison. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains, motion passes. What's the commission's pleasure on these two items?
Mr. Chairman, just for to clarify here, I think, and Candace, tell me if I'm incorrect, but I think we should do the zoning map amendment first and then follow on with the site plan application and ground.
Correct.
Okay. So with that in mind, then for the PZ 2538ZC Redco Stonington, the zoning map amended application, I make a motion to approve that application as submitted. I make a motion that it does meet the consistency with the plan of conservation and development. It also is consistent with the zoning regulations, and then it is also to approve the zoning map amendment. No stipulations.
Motion to approve item PZC 2538ZC, map amendment with no conditions by Ryan. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Morrison. Thank you both. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the map amendment?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains, motion passes.
Okay, next, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the site plan application, PZ 2539 SPA plus GPP CRT-1 JKC, with the following stipulations. Number one, the applicant shall address the outstanding comments to the satisfaction of the town engineer and town planner as applicable. Number two, any proposed alterations or modifications to the approved site plan as a result of comments from the Connecticut Department of Transportation, CDOT, or Office of the State Traffic Administration, OSTA, shall be subject to review and approval by the town engineer, town planner, and commission as necessary. 3, final plan shall be reviewed to the satisfaction of the town engineer and town planner. 4, final plan shall be signed by the commission and reported in the town land evidence records. 5, the applicant shall post an erosion and sedimentation control bond prior to the issuance of a zoning permit. The bond shall be either in the form of a certified check or a revocable letter of credit, meeting the requirements of ZR 15.4.3. The bond amount shall be established by the town engineer after an estimate of the costs of installing and maintaining appropriate erosion and sedimentation control measures is provided by the applicant and approved by the town engineer. Work shall remain bonded for a minimum of 1 year from the date of zoning compliance. So I am making that motion along with those stipulations to approve the site plan application and the groundwater protection permit.
Motion to approve the site plan application and the groundwater application permit with stipulations by Ryan. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Commissioner Morrison that seconded it?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you both. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this moves us to item D. Ryan?
This is so.
And again, we're pulling this off the table again from the meeting of November 18th.
Correct. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reopen the public hearing for PZ 2544 SUPEG Home LLC T. Corus care of W. Sweeney, special use permit application for the construction of 18 residential units with associated site improvements, properties located at 13 and 65 Palmer Street, Pawcatuck, M/B/L 4-6-1/13. Properties are located in the PB5 zone.
Motion to reopen the public hearing for November 18th on this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you both. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The hearing is open. Evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I know you've had a very busy night, and I'm going to try to be as quick and as concise as possible.
I appreciate it.
For the record, my name is Bill Sweeney. I'm a partner and a land use attorney with the law firm of Tobin Carberry in New London, Connecticut. As always, I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you. Tonight, I come before you representing EG Home LLC, a successful residential developer based in Southbury, Connecticut. EG Home is certainly no stranger to the town of Stonington. EG Home finished the old Mystic Estates subdivision here in town. They built the townhome phase of the Perkins Farm development, which was extremely successful. And most recently, they brought to market the enclave at Barn Island in the Pawcatuck section of town. My clients have an excellent reputation in this community for building high-quality residential projects, and most importantly, delivering on the promises they make. Tonight, my client has submitted an application to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the development of 13 Palmer Street and 65 Mechanic Street in Pawcatuck to construct 18 units of attached housing located in 6 triplex townhouses with associated parking and amenity space. Joining me tonight, you'll hear from them. I have John McBride and Chris Bennett with EG Home. I also have Ryan Thompson, who is a professional engineer. He's our civil engineer on the project. Chris and Ryan are going to walk you through our site plans, our architectural plans, and our landscape plans in just a few minutes. But I just want to provide a very brief background. The 2 parcels that are involved in this application, which are shown on the plans in front of you, they encompass a total of 2.17 acres of land. If you've been out to the site, you know this is vacant, overgrown land, which was once the site of a subdivision that is now expired and voided. The project site is located directly east of the Amtrak rail line. It's surrounded by an older mixed-use neighborhood. There's a restaurant directly in front of it on Palmer Street. And then down the hill toward Mechanic Street, there are additional homes and then commercial and industrial uses along the Pawcatuck River. The site has no inland wetlands, it has no floodplains, it's served by all available public utilities, and there really are no significant traffic issues in the surrounding neighborhood. The new attached housing units, as you'll see in a few minutes, will be accessed directly from Palmer Street. Each of the units that we're going to be proposing tonight, we'll be sharing the plans for, are positioned for sale. They're going to be 3-story tall townhomes with a 2-car basement garage. They're going to be 2 to 3 bedrooms, depending on the floor plan layout that's selected by the buyers. And there will be a private deck to the rear of each. You're going to see the elevation drawings of the plans in a few minutes. You're going to see that they're very similar. They closely resemble the townhomes that were built at the Perkins Farm development, which were so very successful when we marketed them to the public. The plans you see tonight meet all the proposed bulk and dimensional requirements of the underlying PB5 zone. And I want to tell you tonight, and just put on the record, that the architectural design of the buildings was reviewed and approved by the ADRB, which gave a positive recommendation as the design is consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. As you go through the site plan, I know Mr. Bennett will point out some of our recreation areas, passive spaces that are required under the regulations between the buildings. In addition to the garages for each unit, we also have provided some parking along the accessway for overflow and guests. We have a stormwater system that Mr. Thompson will touch on very briefly tonight that was reviewed and approved by Mr. Trinkus, your town consulting engineer. We also, as I said, the project is served by public water and sewer. We have approval from both utility oversight commissions, and the property itself will be accessible to emergency vehicles. We have a sign-off from the fire marshal for the project design. This is a modest project. It's only 18 units. Our traffic memo that was submitted anticipates only 10 or 11 additional trips during the AM peak or PM peak hours. And we really don't see any adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. In fact, the reinvestment in this vacant lot is really a great example of infill development and should affect surrounding property values in a positive light. In the interest of time, I would just note just 2 last issues. We have requested a variety of waivers with this application. Some of those typical special permit requirements are really not applicable to this project, or they're unnecessary due to the unique nature and circumstances of the underlying land. I would also, just as a final comment, we did receive comments late Friday night from your consulting planner asking for some additional notes, revisions, and changes to the zoning compliance tables on our plans. The proposed stipulations to approval tonight include meeting those requirements. We're happy to work with him on them. We obviously couldn't get those done in such a short time period, but we're happy to do that. We would also point out that contrary to what was suggested in his comments, we did submit a signage plan and we did submit a landscape plan. I just think it didn't get to him in his review, but those were both submitted for the record and into the package. So we're going to show those to you quickly tonight as well. So at this point, I'd like to turn.
I think what we'll do, just in the interest of time.
Sure.
Ryan, I think we should go first.
Yeah, we'll turn it over to Ryan Thompson.
So let's get through the site.
Yeah. We'll turn it over to Ryan Thompson, who's our civil engineer. Let Ryan just walk you through the site plan and really touch on sort of the site itself, and then Chris can talk about the project.
Hi, I'm Ryan Thompson. I'm a licensed civil engineer and land surveyor here in Connecticut. I did the survey and the site plan for this project. I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm going to try to make this very quick. As was already discussed, it's 2 lots. They're going to essentially be merged into one, and then the townhouses will be built on those.
Can you grab the microphone back there?
Why don't you get the one that you hold? There you go.
People in the back here.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
That's not much of it.
As I was saying, there's Palmer Street is over here, and Mechanic Street is actually off this plan. It's over to the east over here. So north is facing this direction on this one. so. Okay, so high level, 6 units arrayed, 4 on the west, 2 on the east, road going from south to north with a hammerhead turnaround that has been reviewed for fire apparatus and garbage trucks and everything, so that's not an issue. There's also a gate that accesses this right of way, so if necessary, continuous traffic for emergency vehicles all the way through. The drainage is arrayed, the high end of the property elevation-wise is on the south, the low end is on the north, so everything flows from left to right as you're looking at it, through a series of catch basins and into one large Coltech infiltrator unit system with an isolator row for water quality volumes, and then overflows, anything that's not captured, infiltrated into the ground, overflow will be handled through a level spreader at the corner of the property. All the roof impervious areas will go into their own separate Coltech systems, so there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and those are handling specifically the buildings. So what's going into the large system at the bottom is really just coming off the road. It's a robust drainage system and really does minimize all the impacts of water. I think that pretty much sums it up. I'm going to hand it off to Chris at this point.
Oh, it's quick. Can I ask a quick question? So at one point on your plan, you were going to use the right-of-way. What happened there?
Yeah, so
Just
I'd be
didn't have
happy.
permission?
Yeah, so what's interesting is the original subdivision that was approved that got voided took that right of way and considered it to be town property. In the course of our due diligence and working with the DPW informed us that they had no record of ownership over that, what is called a laneway. And so I was commissioned to do an extensive title search back to the mid-1800s to try to find out who owns it. And what I was able to determine is we don't own it, the town doesn't own it, and in fact, it's unclear who owns it. The last owner was an industrial mill complex that was in that general area on which all those homes came out of. There are homes on Mechanic Street at the base of that who have given each other rights of way over it without ever getting those rights of way in their chains of deed. Interesting too. It is basically a no man's land type area. It's not something we have the legal right to access or go on, make improvements to, but the fire marshal still asked us to provide an access gate at the property line because if he would like to get in there to fight a fire, he intends to use it. And that's what we've done here on the plan.
Thanks.
No problem. I spent a lot of time on that side.
Okay. So, good evening. I'm Chris Bennett. I'm with EG Home. I oversee home building operations. I'm here tonight to talk about this project. So, real quick, some of you know who we are, some of you don't. We've been in this area for a while. As Bill stated, we finished up Old Mystic Estates. We are at Perkins Reserve. We're at Enclave right now. And so this will be our fourth community in the Stonington area. So we like it down here. We're very aggressive about finding land down here. We think it has a lot to offer as far as just restaurants, shopping, the best beaches in New England. At least I think so. I have family down here. I come down here a lot. So we're fairly aggressive. But for those of you who don't know us, we've been in business since about 2013. A couple of guys met in basic training in the Naval Academy. A guy named Matt Gilchrist and Dave Earp became lifelong friends. They're Navy veterans. They started this company on a vision to provide just a better home building experience. So just a little bit about us. We're located, like I said, at 3 Pomperog Office Park in Southbury, Connecticut. We have approximately 50 employees. 30 of those are in that office park with a design center. The rest are splattered all throughout Connecticut. Some are here in Pawcatuck, some are in East Lyme, where we have another community in Southbury, in Cheshire, in Oxford. So those are some of the active communities we have right now. As far as the size of our home building operation, we'll close 80 homes this year. which probably makes us probably one of the largest for-sale home builders in the state of Connecticut. So as far as what makes us a little different, I'm trying to do this as quick as I can. We have a real commitment to Department of Energy, zero energy housing, which has been recently changed to, I think it's energy efficient housing is the recent, what they're calling that, which basically means that we make sure that the homes are ready for solar panels, EV charger prep, spray foam insulation, zero combustion heating, cooling, and water heating, which basically means it's electric, right? And then air purification, which is probably something that is probably one of the nicer things that we do, because it's separate from the air handler, if that makes any sense to anybody, where it runs constantly bringing fresh air into the house because it's so tight, and it filters that air for people who have allergies or whatever. It just gives you pure air to breathe, right? So, so that's what makes us a little bit different as far as our commitment to zero energy standards or energy efficient. The other thing is that we have a real simple process, and we have a design center. Of those 30 employees, we have departments in land acquisition, which John heads up. John is here tonight, John McBride. We do our own land development, so the roads, the infrastructure here, we'll do that. We don't subcontract that out. We do subcontract it out, but we manage it. Estimating, purchasing, design, sales. We have a sales team on every site. We have construction people that are on every site, in trailers, managing those sites. So just a little bit about the company and what we do. As far as the architecture for this job, for this community, let me just kind of skip forward here a little bit. So we're in Perkins Reserve, and we built a couple different products here. We built the Carriage product, if you've ever been to Perkins. So we've got these, they're duplex master down product, and we've got this walk-up townhome product that was very successful. It was very well received. We had great absorption on it. It was so well received that we used it in Cheshire. And so in Cheshire, I think we had 15 4-unit buildings there, and we sold that product out as well. So it's the same product we used again. So why not use that again in Pawcatuck? So it's a product that we've proven that works. So we're not the builder that's going to come in here and try something and say, that didn't work, and we're going to back and we're going to try to change the footprint. That's not what we're going to do. So we're going to use a product that we know works, it's well received. And so we took that same product, if you've been to Perkins, and we just changed it slightly. And as Bill stated, there we go. That's our design studio. And that's the architecture on the building. And that's the triplex. That's what it will look like. And so there's a little stone, there's clapboard. It's got a real shoreline feel to it. At least I think it does. As far as the actual, there's some interior shots of that product, that same product. A couple different elevations. And then as far as the actual layout, it's an 1800, 1850 as far as the square footage. Bill already said this, but it's 2 and 3 bedrooms. You can opt into a 3-bedroom on the top floor. And it's proven award-winning, which means it's tested. It means that the buyer, this is something they desire, this is something that's received well. So again, 2-car garage on that main, that main floor. You walk up to family room, dining room, kitchen, just an open living area. And then you go to the top floor, which again can go to 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 2 full bath. And then these are some of the elevations. The elevations on the right-hand side there, those are 2 side elevations that as you come into the community, which I don't have a site map of. So as you come into the community right here, these would be the elevations you see. So we added some enhancements there based on recommendations from the Architectural Review Board. Which is, we added a couple windows, and then we did add some, what you would call these, these small eyebrows that overhang some of those windows. So, and we call that, it's more of a high profile edge or a view corridor, so we want to make sure we enhance those edges you come in. And then we'll go through the landscape plan as well. We'll show some of the things that came up from the Architectural Review Board, is that right? The landscape plan? Do we have that?
We have landscape.
Okay.
I'll put on my planner's hat for a second. So the ADRB asked us, we had done an initial landscape plan that we submitted with the application. Staff at the time, when Clifton was still here, asked us to put together a more detailed landscape plan. So this is what we showed the ADRB, which got positive reaction. We've got a variety of street trees down the private drive that serves it. So we've got some red sunset maple, some green giant arborvitae, and we had some green spire linden on this major access way. What's really important though is, you can go back on your thing to the elevation. It was important that we provide landscaping in front of these units as well. Because they have garages accessing them, we have to have those travel lanes open, so we have these islands sort of interspersed in to the fronts. So it's really important that we have that landscaping in front. We want to maximize that area as much as possible. So we have some pretty detailed landscaping plans in front of the units, and in these, what we call these passive sitting areas, or these passive areas between the buildings as well, just to give them some area, some softness to that in front of the buildings to break up the massing. So we've got some plantings, some shrubs, we've got autumn azalea, shamrock holly, we've got some spirea. We also have ground cover on some of the, right on the front of the units. So we have things like daylily, lily turf, we've got some coneflower. So we've got some planting plans for these. Now these will be part of the common interest community. These are going to be for sale, these are not rentals. So there'll be a management company that manages all that landscaping, takes care of it, and part of how we manage our properties professionally as well. So I think it's a really nice project, and the landscaping was added to just really soften that up. We also, I should just say, I know that your planner, the consulting planner, asked some questions about lighting as well. So we do have a photometric plan, and we're happy to submit that with the final plans, just showing we have some light fixtures called out on the plan along that private driveway. These are dark sky compliant. They are 12-foot poles. They've got a light fixture on top, and we're basically using the same light fixture and the same poles as we did at Perkins Farm. So just like we use the same basic housing model, we have the same lighting as well along that access way for safety and security. But they're low poles. Our photometric plan shows that we're not casting glare off any of the properties. And if you've been out there, if you've been out to the property, you know that to the south, the properties here are heavily buffered with trees. So really our major neighbor is the Amtrak line. So we do have some landscape, additional trees we're planting along that. We're going to try, if there are mature trees that we can keep, we're going to try to do that. We told that to ADRB. We're going to do that in the field as well. But again, the plan here is to try to do something, a modest development, something that fits into the neighborhood. If you've been out there, you know there's a lot of multifamily in that neighborhood. This is going to be new multifamily. And it's going to be of a level, I think, that will elevate the surrounding neighborhood as well. Just a couple other thoughts, and then I'll close up and open it up for any questions you have. As I said before, I think this is a great opportunity for infill. Your plan of conservation development talks about infill development. When I say infill, I mean in existing, long-established neighborhoods, there are always those lots that never got developed, that are just sort of those empty lots that are overgrown. They're filled with invasives. This is one of those infill lots. It's an opportunity to go into an existing neighborhood and put something new into that neighborhood, get an underutilized property, put it on the tax rolls, get some productive use out of it, and get some really nice quality housing in Pawcatuck to supplement that neighborhood. I think it also, the project complies with the goals and objectives of the Plan of Conservation and Development. It's a medium-density residential project. Again, it's served by public water and sewer, so we don't have issues with wells and septic systems. And I think if you've been out there and you look at the surrounding neighborhood, this is a perfect place for some additional new multifamily. It's a mixed-use neighborhood. There's commercial, there's industrial, there's existing multifamily, there is some single family. It's a real traditional neighborhood environment. I think this will fit in very well. As I said, we meet or exceed all the bulk and dimensional requirements for the PV5. The PV5 is pretty liberal. There's really zero setbacks in the zone. But we do meet all those requirements. I think we're trying to provide a really quality project here. I hope you see that, and I hope you agree with us on that point. Certainly, we believe that the application is ready for approval. We have sign-off from your town engineer. We have sign off from the fire marshal. We have some comments from your consulting planner, which are very minor, which we're happy to agree to as a condition of approval. And so I would ask if the commission is so inclined, at the end of tonight, if you close the public hearing, to take positive action on the application. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your time and your indulgence.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant's attorney and the technical thing?
I'll start with one. So in Clifton's report, he had asked you guys to consider a sidewalk that goes out to Palmer Street.
Sure.
Any movement on that?
Yeah, I can talk to that issue directly. You know, we've talked about it at ADRB a little bit too. So there is, just to be clear, there are sidewalks on Palmer Street already. The planner's report seems to suggest there aren't. There are. The suggestion was to put an internal sidewalk. We don't want to put an internal sidewalk in front of the units because that would blow out a lot of those planting areas. It's 18 units. It's a small project. It is a dead-end road, effectively, so there's not any through traffic. I talked with my clients before the meeting, and this was something that we discussed with ADRB as sort of a compromise position. One thing that we would be willing to do is to put a sidewalk from the end of these units out to Palmer Street. We've got a mailbox area, and we could put that as basically sort of meeting halfway. We don't want to blow out landscaping to put in pavement, but we think we can do a sidewalk to connect into Palmer Street. That would be about, 100 to 150 feet to get out there. We think that would be a reasonable compromise, and we'd be willing to do that if that's something the commission would want to put as a stipulation.
How's the commission feel about that?
I think
Very good.
Sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Sound good to everybody? Any questions on it? Okay, Bill, thank you. Any other questions?
I'll say.
No other questions?
Thanks for bringing that up, though.
Thanks.
Candy, any comments from the staff, Rob?
None at all.
Okay. I guess we open it up.
But I'd like to say something.
Is the commission ready to open it up to public input?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get that.
For the record, my name is Carlene Donarumo, 22 Oakwood Avenue in Pawcatuck. It seems to me that this, I'm not sure whether, first of all, there was no planner's report or a summary statement on the website. So I'm completely unprepared, really, to talk about this, except that it seems to me this should come under attached housing. And as far as I remember, attached housing had 4 different elements, and I'm not sure that this plan meets all the different elements of attached housing. And also, we also have a rule about how long the road is, the internal road. How long is that? Is that more than 600 feet? I think we have a rule that they should not be more than 600 feet. So I think those things need to be looked into before you make any kind of an approval for this project. There's been a big problem with multifamily housing and attached housing because there's very specific rules that govern that in our regulations under attached housing. So I think you should look at that.
Thank you, Carlene. Anyone else in the audience wish to make a statement on this project, for or against? General comment? Does the applicant wish any rebuttal time?
Can I respond?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Just a couple things. I always appreciate Carlene's input. This is attached housing. Attached housing is allowed by special permit for 8 units or more in the PV5. We've applied for a special permit for it. The road is just about 540 feet off of Palmer Street, so it's under the 600 feet. But I would also point out that we have provided the emergency gate at the end of it at the request of the fire marshal to provide a secondary means of access for emergency purposes into the site. But also point out attached housing there are additional conditions conditional requirements to attached housing that are listed in section 5.3.2. There's actually a column for PV5. It lays out the minimum lot area, the minimum units per acre, integral lot area per unit. It's got a whole bunch of different standards you go down, many of which, quite frankly, are not applicable. Things like buffers, design open space, neighborhood area, they don't apply in the PV5. But we've already checked that, and that's part of our application. We meet those requirements as well. There is a requirement that all of our site improvements, driveways, sanitary, and storm sewers, all have to meet physical improvements and engineering standards. We have that sign off from Mr. Trinkus. There also needs to be a set-aside passive recreation spaces, which we've provided on the plan. Those are those sitting areas between the buildings. Those have been sized appropriately. So we were very aware of the requirements for attached housing under 532, and I would submit to the commission we meet or exceed those requirements. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions? Carleen, do you wish any rebuttal time at all? No rebuttal time? Okay. If there are no further questions of the applicant and no further input from the staff, is the commission comfortable closing the public hearing?
Yes.
I think we need a motion to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing for PZ 2544 SUPEG Home LLC.
Motion to close by Ryan. Is there a second?
Second motion.
By Gary. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains. Motion passes. The hearing is closed. Does the commission want to vote on this tonight, or you want to think?
I feel
Okay.
comfortable voting.
What's the commission's pleasure on this matter?
Just a quick question to Candace. I know we have 4 recommended stipulations. Would that cover the other comments that I guess that were made from the town?
You probably just have to add a stipulation to be in compliance with the interim planner's comments.
Interim planner comments. Okay, so then there would be a total of 6. Okay.
You clear on all this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, and I can make a motion to make a motion on the special use permit and waivers in one motion. Is that acceptable? So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the special use permit application and also the waivers requested for PZ 254 SUPEG Home LLC with the following 6 stipulations. Number 1, final plan shall be reviewed to the satisfaction of the town engineer, fire marshal, and town planner. Number 2, final plan shall be reported in the town's land evidence records. Number 3, prior to the issuance of a zoning permit, the final plan shall be signed by the commission and recorded. Number 4, the applicant shall post an erosion and sedimentation control bond prior to the issuance of a zoning permit. The bond shall be either in the form of a certified check or a revocable letter of credit meeting the requirements of ZR 8.6.3. The bond amount shall be established by the town engineer after an estimate of the cost of installing and maintaining appropriate erosion and sedimentation control measures is provided by the applicant and approved by the town engineer. Work shall remain bonded for a minimum of 1 year from the date of zoning compliance. Number 5, that a sidewalk shall be constructed to connect Palmer Street and from the front of the project. That's acceptable language. And number 6, that all the comments of the interim town planner shall be responded to by the applicant.
Conclude? Motion to approve the special permit application and the waivers with 6 stipulations by Ryan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Any discussion on the motion?
Only that I have the zoning codes up, so I looked through the attached housing comments or requirements, and they're pretty easy, and it looks like we meet them all.
Thank you.
So I think we're good there.
Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains, the motion passes. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Good luck.
Next item on the agenda, I think we have to read our statement.
Yes, correct. So, pursuant to the general statutes of the state of Connecticut, revision 1958 and all amendments thereto, and pursuant to the zoning regulations for the town of Stonington, Connecticut, the Planning and Zoning Commission hereby gives notice of this public hearing, which has been published twice in newspapers, having a substantial circulation within the town of Stonington. The first publication date was Friday, December 5th, 2025, being not more than 15 or less than 10 days prior to the hearing. The second publication date was Friday, December 12th, 2025, being not less than 2 days before the hearing. The newspapers in which these notices were published were the Sun and the New London Day. First is for PZ254SUP, Kayla Group LLC, D. Ferguson, special use permit application for the expansion of outdoor boat storage use approved under PZ1726SUP. Property is located at 82 Mechanic Street, Pawcatuck, M/B/L 4-7-15. Property is located in the HM zone.
Need a motion to open?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to open the hearing for PZ254SUP Kayla Group.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you both. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? Chair abstains. The public hearing is open. Evening.
I also want to say good morning. First, I'd like to thank everyone
I thought
for
we
being
were
here.
going to get there for a while.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to thank everyone for being here this evening. I appreciate the hard work the staff goes through, as well as the commission. The staff has been great in guiding us through different processes regarding our property at 82 Mechanic Street. Do you have any questions on the application?
Pick up the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have any questions on the application?
That's much better. I'm sorry.
Do you have any questions on the application?
I do not. Does the commission have any questions?
No, what's pretty simple.
One thing I would like to offer, and this is at Candace's suggestion, is that we're up for our fifth year our fifth year review and report and inspection on the site to comply with the DEP regulations. And we'd like to provide a copy of that to the town, whichever department you see fit to, we can give the copy to, whether it be the planning department or the engineering department.
Okay, fine. If the commission has no questions, is there any staff comments?
No, I just agree with the stipulation that I'd like to see the 5-year LEP review. It's due between April and August of this year, just to make sure that this site stays in compliance with their environmental layover. Thank you.
So are we going to hold off on approving it until that, or no?
Not at all.
Just make a stipulation as part of that it's submitted.
Correct.
Any other comments or questions from the staff or commission? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this time? Please.
Thank you. My name is Janet Grunwald. I own 56 Mechanic Street. I came here to understand what the expansion of boat storage means. I am also interested, and I apologize for my ignorance or naivete. I was not able to get down to the town hall, so I don't know if these are clearly documented in the application. But I would like to understand what happens with any of the potential chemical seepage into the ground, fire hazards, fire management, fire mitigation, accessibility to the property, if there's going to be parking, if there's a lot of traffic going in and out of the facility, what type of lighting and security would be provided. Of course, I'm concerned about noise pollution. If there's going to be work being performed on the boats, I'm concerned about that, in addition to pest management.
Do you have those developed on the site plan?
No, but I think that because there is an environmental restriction on the site and they have to be inspected annually by themselves and then every 5th year by a licensed environmental professional, you'll know if there's an environmental issue or not.
Okay, fine.
I also, just out of curiosity, I'm reading, I do see the fire district marshal made some comments. In reading them, I'm assuming that otherwise he is good with this. Is that a correct inference? Okay.
And I
You
guess,
understand it's going to be inspected on a regular basis by a licensed environmental professional. If issues develop in those specialty subject areas that you just felt that have to be addressed.
And what is the expansion? Is that 100 votes? Is it 10 votes? What's the scope of the expansion?
Candy?
That's a question better answered by
By
the
the
applicant.
applicant.
okay. Yeah, do you have a plan with you that you could share?
Oh, okay, sure.
I don't know if you could.
To answer your question, Janet,
Can
the
you
expansion.
speak maybe to the microphone?
I'm sorry. To answer your question, the expansion is going to be at the south end of the property. As you know, where we border your property where the concrete wall is, it's not going to be any different than that. And the lighting will change. I know you're concerned about lighting going into your tenants. That will not change. We've addressed that before. In terms of working on the boats, that's probably not going to be an issue there. It's just going to be for seasonal storage, mostly. And we've already addressed the fire marshal issue. I work closely with Byron on that, on all our properties. What was the other concern you might have had?
Pest management.
Pest management.
That has been a problem.
Please, can I have a discussion?
So sorry. Yes. I was,
Okay, all right.
he started
You're
it.
answering her question, but you're
I'm sorry.
addressing them through the petition.
Okay.
That's okay. That's okay. It just, you can't get into a one-on-one. So.
Okay, I didn't know. Okay.
So I think pest management is the next question.
I'm not sure what she means by pest management.
I'm assuming rodents or critters?
Yes, cockroaches and rodents.
Well, I don't think that the boats that we bring in on trailers will bring any cockroaches or any more pests that are already there. We don't have it. Actually, we don't have it with Conroy as one of our tenants, the paper goods company. We don't have any rodent problem whatsoever. We've seen a few fox here and there. Sorry.
Which take care of the rodents?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And just one question, then a follow-up. How many actual boats in addition would be?
That's to be determined, you know.
Ballpark.
I don't have one yet because we haven't advertised it. Right now, Connors and O'Brien, who's on the street from us in Norwest Marine, they're the same company, who actually bought our marina at 50 Mechanic right behind her. They are growing their number of boats, so they lease a certain portion of the north and east side of our property for their boat storage. So we don't know until we advertise. Maybe, it depends on the size of the boats. It's hard to answer. I don't mean to be cagey.
Lanes, do you leave lanes between?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I work with Byron.
Firefighting access and.
I work with Byron on
How
that.
do you do it without a layout?
Byron comes down and inspects. And he looks at where we store the boats. He says, I want this much distance between the boats and at a certain depth. And we work with him very closely.
Iterative process with the fire marshal.
Oh, continuous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more? Would you be willing to stipulate that you won't have the boat owners do maintenance? So this came up. This came up at the another one down the street. Yeah. And so boat bottoms have lead paint, copper, lots of heavy metal chemicals in them, and so we don't want people sanding the boats. You're not going to be able to do that there.
This is storage only.
Storage only.
Right.
Storage only.
So we can make that as a stipulation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No power washing, things like that.
No painting.
Pardon me?
No painting.
No.
Did that answer
That's it.
yours?
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Any further questions or comments, Commissioner?
Real quick, Candace, was it, I'm sorry, because I miswrote, LEP or LER review?
LEP.
Licensed environmental professional.
Got it.
If If there's no further comments from the audience, is the commission comfortable closing the public hearing?
Yes.
Need a motion to do so?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing for PZ 254 SUP Kayla Group LLC.
Motion to close the Kayla Group public hearing. Is there a second?
Second motion.
So, thank you, Gary. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The chair abstains. Motion passes. It's closed. What's your pleasure on the application of Kayla Group?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the special use permit application and the waivers requested for PZ 254 SUP Kayla Group with the following two stipulations, Number one, a 5-year LEP review will be submitted. And number two, no boat maintenance will take place in the storage area.
Motion to approve with two stipulations by Ryan. Is there a second?
Second motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you both. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains. Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we need to read our soliloquy.
To read it for everyone.
This is a new one, I think, so.
Yeah, this is new.
What's in the meeting?
Pursuant to the general statutes of the state of Connecticut, revision 1958 and all amendments thereto, and pursuant to the zoning regulations for the town of Stonington, Connecticut, the Planning and Zoning Commission hereby gives notice of this public hearing, which has been published twice in newspapers, having a substantial circulation within the town of Stonington. The first publication date was Friday, December 5th, 2025, being not more than 15 or less than 10 days prior to the hearing. The second publication date was Friday, December 12th, 2025, being not less than 2 days before the hearing. The newspapers in which these notices were published were the Sun and the New London Day. This is for PZ 2550SD plus GPP, Nasi Graham as Terendia, subdivision and groundwater protection permit application for the subdivision of a 1.2 acre lot to create 3 building lots. Property is located at 54 Robinson Street, Pawcatuck, M/B/L 3-7/4. Property is located in the RH10 zone.
Need a motion to open the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to open the public hearing for PZ 2550SD and plus GPP, Nasi Graham as Terendia.
Motion to open the public hearing by Ryan. Is there a second?
Second motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you both. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains. You have the floor, sir.
Excuse me, good evening. I will do my best to be quick here, given the hour. For the record, Sergio Terenzia with Terenzia and Associates. Oh, excuse me. Offices at Pawcatuck, 99 Mechanic Street, Pawcatuck, Connecticut. The plan in front of you this evening is for a, technically it's a 2-lot subdivision. I believe in your planner's report, it was advertised as a 3-lot. Just a point of clarification for the record is that the lot was originally subject to a free split, which subdivided off a portion of the lot, created 2 lots, and then the second sublot was then subsequently is proposed to be subdivided under this application. So I can get into that a little bit more detail. Excuse me, just getting over a cold. I'm going to try to keep things limited, so I don't have to speak as much, but also get across what I need this evening. And thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to share my screen here. Just a moment. It'll just take me a minute here. I got to open it in a different way.
kind of going to be okay if we start folding up here at 10:15 and thereabouts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Should be coming up just here in a moment. Sorry for the delay.
There you go.
So the subject property is located at 54 Robinson Street. The property does, just to believe the report indicated it was a single-family home. It's actually a multi-family. It's a two-family home currently there with some outbuildings and some structures, accessory structures. The free split essentially carved off the northeast corner of the lot adjacent to Robinson Street and Pauline Street. And now that two-family is on a separate lot of record that meets all the zoning requirements. The remaining garage and shed, a portion of those buildings will either be completely taken down or they will, the portion of the building that is needs to be taken down to meet the zoning requirements, and there'll be an accessory garage to the two-family home. And I can pull that up real quick, the free split plan. Yeah, so the free split here, you can see, created this L-shaped lot here, and the hatched out portions of the building, of those accessory buildings, are proposed to be removed as part of this free split, but also as a part of the proposed subdivision. As you can see, the lot generally drains from a northwesterly to the southeasterly corner. That's important because there's a constant slope, and all that storm water ends up in this southeasterly corner. And you'll see in the proposed plan, that's where we're proposing to store and capture and infiltrate the storm water that is going to be generated from this development. So with that, I'm going to bring up the subdivision plan. I will note that the lot is completely surrounded by either town right-of-way or paper streets. So to the north is Pauline Street, to the east is Robinson Street, to the south is Harold Street, and then to the west is Walter Street. Walter Street and Harold Street are paper streets. Harold Street, there isn't any formal access. There is an access drive for one of the neighboring properties. Harold Street has a driveway that accesses the property to the west here. We went through. We actually had some correspondence with that neighbor when we went through the wetlands permitting. They had concerns of water flooding in the area. We kind of came to determine that that Harold Street is indeed a town right-of-way, but the owner has an easement for their driveway over that paper street. We have no intentions of doing any disturbance within that area. That driveway will remain intact and for the use as it is today for that neighbor. So that being said, we are proposing two single-family structures in two lots. One of them is going to be accessed off Pauline Street, the other one off of Robinson Street. All of the stormwater is going to continue to drain in the same direction, and as I mentioned, will be either it'll be conveyed either by pipe or swale or overland through some grading to this detention area in the southeast corner of the lot. Once it gets to that spot, we actually have introduced an overflow drain. We ran a stormwater model to identify how much water this site would see in a 100-year storm, and the neighbors were concerned of water overtopping this property, getting into the road, getting into adjacent property. So we felt it appropriate to introduce a drain, an overflow drain there, once we've detained that stormwater in that area, and drain it into an existing catch basin at the low point of Robinson, which then discharges to the stream that runs, pretty much starts up near the West Vine School. That stream runs, I can bring it up if you care to see it, but this stream runs all the way down through this property, through adjacent property, excuse me, the culvert underneath Robinson, and then is conveyed underneath Stillman Ave and off to the Pawcatuck River. That stream, we're not proposing to make any changes to it. We're just going to connect to the same stormwater system that the town owns and maintains as an overflow to that system. All of the houses, the proposed houses and the existing are going to be served with public sewer and public water. We have correspondence with the Water Pollution Control Authority Director, Dan Smith, identifying that we do indeed need to connect to the public sewer system and that there is capacity for such. As part of the final plan, we're happy to make sure that the plans are updated to and include those connections to his satisfaction. We have also coordinated with the town of Westerly Water. I don't know if the record was, the staff report was corrected in reference to Aquarion, but I just want to make sure that it's understood that this is the town of Westerly water system. And we've had correspondence with the town of Westerly as well, and they have identified that there's adequate water service here to serve the 2 additional single-family properties. So I do want to add that to the south, that stream, there is an associated stream with the wetland. We did obtain Inland Wetlands Commission approval prior to coming here this evening. So that has also been approved. The town engineer did have some additional comments. We've been going back and forth a couple of times. I'm just going to give a quick synopsis of those items which I think will be handled at final plan, and we are happy to stipulate such. But just in summary, he's looking for a recorded subdivision plan that has the appropriate easements, cross easements for drainage between the properties. We are happy to accommodate that, and we'll do that to the town engineer's satisfaction. As I mentioned, all of the drainage is directed to that infiltration basin on site, where we've done some infiltration testing, and we're confident that that area will adequately handle the stormwater from the site, hold that water back, and safely convey it underneath the road, as opposed to causing any concern for potential overflow over the top of that road, and any adverse condition there. The town engineer did make a comment on saving a large oak tree on the property. I don't believe there's anything that requires my client, as the owner applicant, to save that tree, although if we are able to and navigate around it by modifying the site plan in such a way to save that tree, I think that's something that can be administratively handled, and we can still maintain the integrity of this plan. So if it's possible, we will try to save that large tree on the property. And as I mentioned, we plan on connecting to the town drainage system, and we will make sure we have full engineering and DPW support on that, and making sure the road is restored properly, along with any of the utility connections associated with the development of these 2 properties. With that, I think I've covered the majority of the items, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if you have any comments.
Questions of the engineer? Hearing none. Candy, anything from staff, anything additional?
No, sir.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment on this project, either for or against, or a general comment? Hearing none, is your presentation closed?
Yeah, I forgot to mention, my clients are here, Mary Nasi Graham and Larry Graham. If you have any questions of them, they are here. They've been patient through this evening, as you have been, and if you have any questions of them, they're here.
There's none. Unless anyone wishes to make a public comment, Commissioner Cochran will closing the public hearing.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing for PZ 2550SD plus GPP Nasi Ground as Trenzia.
Motion to close the public hearing, is there a second?
Second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Public hearing is closed. What's the commission's pleasure on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the subdivision application and the groundwater protection permit application for this with the following five stipulations. Number one, the applicant shall address outstanding comments to the satisfaction of the town engineer and town planner as necessary. Number two, the applicant should provide a fair market value valuation as determined by an appraiser and pay 10% of the fair market value of the land to be subdivided. Number three, final plans shall be reviewed to the satisfaction of the town engineer. Number four, prior to the issuance of a zoning permit, the final plan shall be signed by the commission and recorded in the town's land evidence records. And number five, that the sewer connection that is to be made will be updated on the final plans.
Motion to approve the subdivision and groundwater permit with stipulations by Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains, motion passes. Thank you
very much.
Mr. Chairman, is there anything further we need to go over this evening?
Next item is deferred until January 6th.
Okay, and then the new submittals, anything we need to discuss there?
I think we've concluded business for this evening. I think the appropriate motion to adjourn is in order.
No. You have new submittals to accept?
Okay, so in that acceptance, do we need to note that we're accepting the new submittals? Or
Well, you can always, if you don't want to read
When
through
did this
them all.
start?
Yeah, that's
Is that what you're trying to avoid?
well, I'm not trying to avoid, sorry, I'm just
No,
trying
no,
to.
is that way you would like to move things along? All
Right.
new submittals, items A, B, C.
We never
somebody
have
else.
done this in the past, but
Oh,
that's
really?
So
fine.
happy to do it if you
Yeah.
need. Okay, so do I make a motion
Move
to accept the
acceptance, right?
All new
Yeah.
submittals, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the following new submittals, submittals, can't speak. PZ 2552SD, M. Frank Poor, Killing Engineering, care of and Faybolt, and PZ 2553, Cam Shore Design PLLC, K. Rocha. Are those the only two? Those are two more?
Two more.
Next page, yeah.
Oh, my apologies. Third one, PZ 2554 SPA and GPP RCP Waterford, LLC Stonington Village Partners and CRT 1 J. Casey, and PZ 255 Cam Dean / Berman River Road, A. Hayward.
Motion to move acceptance of 4 new submittals under item 11 by Ryan. Is there a second?
Second motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn this hearing.
Motion to adjourn, no second required. All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? Motion passes. The meeting is adjourned.